Long gone are the days of stepping out into a stadium filled with gladiators aiming to be the last sword standing. But this place can come close enough to resembling that fighting spirit. The echoes beacon from this temple in the middle of the Tennessee hills, forged on giving its own warrior sword to the winner. And in a season dominated by the Goliath, Ethan Fonseca Moreno does it again. Jaden Porter grabs the victory. It's up to the rest to decide who will be David. A showdown at the last great Coliseum awaits. The 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series on KBueno starts next. The last great Coliseum marks the next stop in the journey to a title as 4Wide's best embark on Bristol for a chance at winning the sword tonight. Welcome to the Thousand Islands Correct pre-race show as we get ready to bring in the 8th race of the 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series from Bristol, Tennessee. Glad that you're with us on the KBueno Racing Network. So happy to have you join us at this portion of the season where it's getting very exciting. We're alongside Francisco Bacalhau and Keelan Belsha. I am Kenneth Bueno. We'll have our pit reporter Charlie Byer join us later on in tonight's show. Francisco, Bristol is a track of its own. It's a half-mile, high-banked, short venue known for its great racing, multi-lane usage, and obviously the chaos that comes with racing at a track this short. And in the juncture of the season, we've seen it all. David, Goliath, it's going to be a monumental battle as the field takes on this track here in Tennessee, a temple of speed.
So happy to be back here in Northeast Tennessee to the Bristol Motor Speedway. This track is ferocious. It is action-packed. You can't get away from the chaos at any point on the lap around here. And these drivers are going to be fighting tooth and nail to keep their cars under them, but also fighting everybody else for the most amount of track position. This could be one of the more action-packed tracks that we have on the schedule.
Keelan, an interesting marker that Bristol plays in this 2025-26 4-wide season because we've seen several different types of venues already. Our last race at Kentucky was our first ever mile-and-a-half race of the season, which is sort of crazy to say already that we're in race number 8, but second short track race of this season after Richmond, although it's been kind of a while since we've seen that type of discipline here in 4-wide. Drivers got to stretch their legs a little bit for this one.
And we've said it on every show so far this season about how diverse this schedule is, and there's no similar tracks really back-to-back weeks. So this is only our second look at a short track this season, and if we know what short tracks bring to us here on iRacing and in 4-wide, we should be in for a pretty chaotic and a fun one tonight.
Probably will be all in it for the chaos and for some of the fun that the field will have here at this last great Coliseum. Let's refresh your memory and bring you the action from the last time we raced at the virtual Kentucky Speedway. That was certainly a very fun one to watch. First time we saw this track in 4-wide action since 2021. There's the early spill. Blaine Snyder, the rookie, started on the front row. Francisco, tough break for him, and an even tougher break for the Auto Club winner, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, here in 1 and 2.
In trouble for Jurgensmeyer coming off that fantastic win at the Auto Club Speedway. The ups and downs of racing proved to himself early for this trouble, and then a couple of hits right there, but none other than that hit by the 7 that ultimately took Jurgensmeyer out of the race. But very early, Kenneth, it was very evident to us that one of the strongest cars of the race is going to be that 92 of Ethan Fonseca Moreno before trouble struck right here. Contact with Lawson Peels sent, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Amir Bascom up to the outside wall, setting us up for another restart.
And there were the drivers on old tires staying out, Keelan. Mikey Neal, Michael Walls, and Randy Showers. Here he was in the middle, casual 3-wide in turn 1 and 2 with Jaden Porter and Ethan Fonseca Moreno on the outside. But it would take them a little while to visit pit road. Once they did, this race had blown wide open between the two BBR teammates.
They were both really fast, and we saw Ethan eventually make his way around Jaden Porter, around the outside right there, to put himself back into the lead. We saw more incidents happen right here. Kip Easley went for a spill up the racetrack. Mikey Neal nearly got taken out by him right there. But as the race went on, we got more green flag racing. Alexander Schumacher started showing his speed, got up there into the top spot for a little bit. But then we got a little bit deeper into this race towards the last pit stop of the race, and the strategies proved to be the difference in this one.
And it was a huge difference that marked the benefit for Ethan Fonseca Moreno. 2 tires on his call, As Schumacher came in the following lap, 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. It would give him somewhat of a boost, but the distance was too much to cover at the end of it. Moreno would then take the lead on the strategy and just stroll to his 3rd victory of the Season 8 campaign, his first at the virtual Kentucky Speedway, and one that continues to stamp in the dominance, Francisco, of this KBueno Racing team. 6 consecutive wins. We have not seen this team lose since Daytona. That was the first race of the year ever since they have been non-stop. Tonight could be that chance some other team takes center stage. For right now, though, BBR is on fire.
Absolutely on fire. Part of me loses sleep from not having been able to take care of that Daytona finish to make it a perfect 7 for 7. I redeemed myself a little bit later on, but everybody has been contributing to that, and not just winning races, they've also been finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th. All the drivers have been really competitive. That's why they're absolutely dominating the team standings as it stands in the early portion of the schedule. Everybody's looking really competitive, and in the point standings, the top 3 are all KBueno Racing drivers to some extent. So, I mean, we're hoping that this kind of momentum can continue, but it's not exactly easy. You just don't go out there and say you're going to win, you're going to finish 2nd, or whatever the case is. You have to work. Everybody in this field is competitive. There's tracks that are going to favor you, others that may not, so you have to work at it all the way through to make sure you can get those good results.
You ever wonder, when something is so dominant, when does it ever stop? When will there be that breaking point where a team or a certain driver will fall off their pedestal? Tonight could be that moment. Bristol Motor Speedway is known to take some for a wild ride. We've got some heavy contenders, of course, some of them a part of that KBueno Racing team, but lots of questions to be answered when we drop the checkered flag tonight. Dominance can be used to describe several different things in 4-wide history. For one, it's Lawson Peel's journey of dominance to a 4-wide championship back in Season 4 and dominating the all-time wins column. Then there are drivers like Ethan Fonseca Moreno and Jaden Porter who have been dominant over the last few races. You've seen Brandon Hawkin last season dominate the series to win a championship. But here at Bristol, domination is usually tailored to the rookie drivers. Ethan Fonseca Moreno and newcomer Kyle Tursak have taken center stage here at this 1.5-mile track over the last 2 seasons.
Look at the city, it's in a blaze.
One more chance for Lawson Peel to get around the 43. The 12 hits the wall. Ethan Fonseca Moreno is victorious at the last Great Coliseum.
This is crazy, man. Freaking crazy. Man, I've been waiting to win here for a long time.
Kyle Tursak leads in the green. Jaden Porter stumbles to get going. Benson wants to go 3 wide. He's going to try and go through the middle. But the dominant driver all night long, Kyle Tursak, is going to get his first career win at Bristol.
Yeah, you just got to be focused. I was just looking at tire data the entire time after the green flag raw and seeing what I needed to do better.
All right, look at the last 4 Bristol Motor Speedway winners in Bristol history. This is one of those few tracks, Francisco, in which we've run every single 4-wide season with at least one trip to this 1.5-mile track in Bristol, Tennessee. But look at the names up here. Eric Schaefer winning here twice. He's the only driver that's done that, win more than one race here, but it's been all about the rookies. Ethan Fonseca Moreno on journey to his first ever 4-wide championship, won this race in a battle with Lawson Peel. And Kyle Tursak, a race in which you broadcasted yourself while I was away, dominated that race with 221 laps led. Could be another chance for someone else to reach that victory moment, maybe another rookie.
Yeah, that was my first ever show production-wise on the KBueno Racing Network. I've done a couple since, and looking back on it, I definitely feel like I've already improved from that night. But it was certainly a night to remember with Kyle Tursak taking the win in his debut in this series. And you think about the greater extent of Bristol, you mentioned it every single season we've been here, but this is also the first time since Season 3 that the track is twice on the schedule. We will visit the Bristol Motor Speedway later in the season when we come around towards the playoffs. So what can you take away from this race here tonight that you can use at a critical point in the schedule like later in the year? Though I must say, if iRacing's update for the new package and the new updates for 750 horsepower do come in 2026, it will be around the time of that race, so it's important to remember that.
That's going to be a big change if that comes around by the time Bristol comes up for the second time in the season. We almost brought it up at Auto Club not too long ago. It could have been the preview to the championship race that we'll see later on this season? Could this be maybe a hint of what we may see later on? It's maybe a big question mark. That's something that the drivers will have to answer for when we get down to this race. Lots of heavy contenders in this one, including a already winner this time in Season 8. Jaden Porter, the Kentucky driver, will join us right now. Jaden, we'll talk about the Halloween costume in just a bit. I know you're going to be part of that costume contest that's taking kind of a good portion of our Thousand Islands Correct pre-race show. But we didn't talk to you last week. It was your home race at Kentucky. It was a good one for you.
Hold on.
Okay. Damn, we really caught him off guard here.
I saw him looking down, and I thought to myself, maybe he didn't know that we were on, but it certainly looked like a big moment. There he is.
All right, well, Jaden, we apologize for catching you off guard. And we're going to talk about the costume in a little bit because it's kind of awesome. But we'll tailor that to the contest later on in the show. We didn't talk to you last week. It was your home race at Kentucky. Did pretty well for yourself. Ran up front, led a couple of laps. You tailor into this Bristol race in which you finished in the podium last season. What is it going to take to try and get your second victory here in Season 8 tonight?
Probably qualifying well. I think track position's going to be pretty key tonight. Setup's a little bit tight, as it kind of is here, but I think with dirty air and everything, track position's really going to matter tonight. So hopefully I can qualify the Diet Mountain Dew Chevy up front. Kind of cool to run this paint scheme. I really love this paint scheme, and hopefully can have a little better luck in it than Dale Jr. did. But yeah, I've been really wanting to win Bristol. Like, Bristol's been that race, I feel like, in 4 wide, that it's the last one I really want to check off. You know, the one I'm really looking at checking off is Bristol. I've won at every concrete track but Bristol. I've had, I think, every race I've ran 4 wide here Bristol, I've had a chance to win. Either throwing it away or just had some bad luck happen. So hopefully we can get out of here with a win.
This was a race again. You finished 3rd in this event last season on an overtime restart. We know it was a kind of a night all about Kyle Tursak, but for you, you had one of the better long green flag running cars apart from that 15. So should we expect a long green flag run? Are you going to try to use some of those things that worked last season into this race, or do you think it's an entirely new slate? You got to attack this track very differently than you did all those months ago.
I think it's differently, mainly due to the dirty air effect now. You know, it's pretty effective everywhere now, even tracks you wouldn't think it would be. So you kind of have to run a little differently. Maybe you can't be as bottom dependent, but at the same time, you can't go to the outside either because it kills the right front. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think I've ran 1 race here since the new update, and I got crashed out pretty early. And so I don't know how much different. It depends how long we go. You know, we could have a caution fest, and tires don't matter at all tonight. But if we do have a green flag on, which we typically have at least 1 here, so I'm not sure. I think traction's gonna matter, but I don't really know how much differently you have to run it compared to what you have in the past. So that's something we're just gonna have to learn.
Final one before we let you go. Settle in for this practice session. We'll see you in the contest in just a little bit. So, I mean, be ready to be judged a little bit. We're going to have you up to deck with a lot of the other 4 wide drivers. But Halloween's in 2 days. Can't ignore that. Probably one of my favorite holidays of the year. Do you have any plans for Halloween Friday, or you just kind of chilling back and just letting it all play out?
I'm not sure yet. Friday is usually one of my off days from work, so maybe I'll do something. I don't know. This isn't even my costume, by the way. I just want to point out. Might look a little big on me. But
whose costume is that? Where'd you get that one from?
It's my sister's husband. He has this costume, and it was laying around because I didn't know. I couldn't buy a costume in time, and it was laying around. It's pretty easy to put on, so I was like, why not? You know, I might have it on backwards maybe, but.
Hey, look, I'm just going to say, if you don't have any plans on Friday, we'll hook you up with an invitation to our KBueno Halloween party. You'll get a crucial invite there. We'll invite a lot of the other 4 wide drivers in it. So, Jenny, we really appreciate the time. Thank you so much, and best of luck when we take the green flag tonight from Bristol.
Thank you.
the Concrete King, trying to get another one. He's won at Dover. He's won at Nashville Superspeedway. This track is one that he's trying to circle off and get it done on his 4-wide list as he tries to prepare. Great costume, a little bit of a preview to what we'll have for you later on in the show. But I think Keelan, for the sake of Jaden Porter, last season really showed us how good he can be at this track. He's won a pole here before in his first start. He finished third here last season, trailing Tursack on a long green flag run. Tonight, again, could be his night. He's done well at these types of tracks. Like I said, qualifying going to be a big point for him if he wants to get back to victory lane.
And I think that's going to be what everybody is going to be looking at. That is going to be probably a key component on whether you will be competitive in tonight's race or not, is going to be your qualifying lap and how far up in the running order you are starting. He mentioned it just a second ago, how prevalent the dirty air is. Even when we come to a short track like this where you don't really think about aero as much, it's going to show itself today where it's going to be really hard to make passes, especially for the lead, until lap traffic kind of stops everybody up if we get a run that long enough. So everybody's going to be focusing on that qualifying lap. It's probably going to be a really silent 10 minutes over the radios of all these guys over their voice channels. So that's going to be really important tonight, and especially when the conditions of qualifying during the afternoon are not going to be what they're racing with or what they're practicing with, for that matter. Right now, it's going to be very different. It's going to be a challenge, and these guys are going to have to really put it all on the line and try to start up front.
I think it's really forced a lot of drivers to lock in on qualifying because of how this car has changed, what the dirty air has done. We've seen that from Nashville, Kentucky, and several of those little ovals, Richmond included, short track that we saw earlier on this season, how big of a factor it can play. You think of Bristol, you think of rivalries, you think of those last lap bump and runs, you think of drivers moving others up the track using the chrome horn. And a couple of weeks ago, we got a chance to talk with the 4-wide driver base to get their intel on who their fellow rivals are heading into Bristol.
I don't have many rivals in sim racing. I mean, in 4-wide, I wouldn't say it's anyone. Me and Schaefer kind of roughed me up at Richmond, but I finished second and he wrecked, so I wouldn't really call it a rivalry.
I feel like if I did have one at this point, it would honestly probably be my teammates, because we just keep pushing ourselves to be better week in and week out. You know, one week I'll be better at something, Trevor will be better the next week, and then road course will come up and one will kick both of our tails.
But I do have somebody that I wish I was as fast as them and consistent as them, and I feel like we're going to probably run into each other a few times this year because we're both at the top of the standings. I really like Jerk. He's a great guy. He's really fast. If I ever happen to run into him, I'm sorry. It's happened to KBueno trucks. You know, we're really fast guys. So,
Ethan, he talks smack nonstop, but he won't say nothing when he doesn't do nothing. So I don't know. I try to beat him every week because I don't want to hear his mouth.
Some of the guys that I race around on a regular basis, Kivett and Craig Parks and them, you know, we race around each other enough that we're eventually going to get into each other, and we're going to have our share of, you know, things happening between us. But we always talk it out and you know, pretty much come out of it civil with each other. So I really don't feel like I have a rival.
There's definitely guys that are out there that I think run harder. Obviously, every single race, it's a bragging right to see who's going to score the most points for the team. So there's always that in-house rivalry where you want to beat somebody, and you know, we got kind of two different tiers of guys out there. We got the guys that are going to run up front, and then me and Chris are midfield just putting around. And so when me and Chris wind up beating one of them on raw pace, we like to talk our smack for the next month and a half, letting them know that we beat them.
Man, tough question, but you know, I always like beating Jaden. If I could beat Jaden in a race, I knew that I was fast and I knew that I did good. Because man, he never wrecks. He just never has any bad luck.
Keelan Belcher, 110%. Not even a close. Like, I know he'll race every once in a while. Still Keelan Belcher.
Always kind of good to know who your rivals are, Francisco. That's something that a lot of the drivers were thinking about when we asked them that question. Some of them couldn't really come up with names. I thought it was kind of funny that JJ went immediately for the jugular and went for Keelan, but I mean, it's kind of
no hesitation.
Yeah, no. I mean, he said no hesitation at all. pure as simple, it's going to be Keelan Belsha. But Francisco, maybe we see some rivalries form tonight. A lot of it could come down to just the tensions of short track racing. You may see me some of that in this race tonight.
Yeah, it's a real effect that we've seen it in real NASCAR. We saw it just this past weekend with Sam Mayer and Jeb Burton, and that resulted in Sam Mayer getting suspended for the season finale at Phoenix this upcoming weekend. So I don't think maybe we'll get to that point, but it certainly plays a role. We've seen historically in the past some hard racing, some tough moments at some of these concrete short tracks or other short tracks for that matter, and it's resulted in some actions or some really intense moments. And tonight, Bristol, the heated temperature, the heated drivers can certainly play a role into something like that happening, which we'll talk about that later in the race.
You know, there are some points of this track in which you can make bump and run moves. We've seen it entry of corners, we've seen it mid corners, sometimes on the exit when you're down the straightaways rocketing off with the banking, but many places where drivers can make contact. I'm sure a lot of them will be familiar with each other by the time this race is over, given how wild we've seen these events be in history. All right, so 2 days until Halloween is officially upon us on Friday. Obviously, last season we went into our best costumes for the KBueno Racing Network. Let's go into the spookiest ever moments in 4-wide history, and let's start with a pretty good one at our 4-wide spookiest moments. Let's go a couple seasons ago, season 6 at Sonoma. This is the battle for the lead in the final stretch. Daniel Michel's leading, Ethan Fonseca Moreno is second, Lawson Peel in third, and yeah, no description for what's going to happen here in turn 11. Francisco, it's ascend, and it's a huge scare. That's a jump scare from the right side from Lawson Peel.
Yeah, huge moment there for the two championship contenders of that playoff run, and Moreno was able to come back for second in that race, but ultimately lost the win. And here's another situation of a driver losing the win. On the final lap, contact with Lance Till and Cody Kinsey right in front of the number 10 machine. Benson, nowhere to go, gets hit around, costs him the chance at the win, and the savior in that was Brandon Banks saving fuel to the very end by that much in a must-win situation, got to the playoffs. And Kenneth, this is not one of my favorite moments at COTA. I was involved in this situation. You see Forrester go around, and that's me further back going around as well.
And this is everything going on at once, Keelan. Like, everyone's spinning off of the final corner on the restart, then into the first several corners. AJ Green, Lance Hill, all of them going around. I mean, Francisco was involved. There's Kyle Benson in turn 1. I mean, nobody was safe. Everyone was getting the axe.
Everybody was in trouble at this COTA race. This was one I unfortunately missed. I believe our good friend Charlie up here, you were on the call for that one. You see Gabriel Dahari going for a spin. He kind of made that work, though. A little bit of a drift move, almost. But then here at Dover, a race that Ethan Fonseca Moreno came off the final corner, got the win. You said, Kenneth, that was the treat. But the trick that came after it was that the black flag or the lucky dog or whatever it was that he got cleared for unsafe pit exit right here makes a little bit of contact with this guy spinning across the racetrack right there. That was the trick. Ended up getting that win taken away, and it was given to Jaden Porter.
You know, we usually see the trick come first, then the treat. That was the treat first, then the trick. Those are 4-wide's spookiest moments. I'm going to not apologize to Ethan Fonseca Moreno. We put him in 2 of those, but I mean, it has to be told, those spooky stories. Anything could go down, especially under the lights here at Bristol. There's a sword involved. Someone could be on the other end of the spooks and scares tonight when this race is all said and done. All right, let's get into our favorite part of the show. This is one I've been looking forward to for a little while on our Thousand Islands Correct pre-race show. We've got a costume contest. We have encouraged all of the drivers to get in a lobby, in our camera lobby. We usually show them throughout our coverages on the KBueno Racing Network, but tonight we want to highlight all of the great costumes they have put on for us, and we're going to pick our favorites. So each of us are going to go through our favorites. We're going to go through all of them first before we make our decision. So this is Christopher Bishop, or rather CJ Munier. This is a Hollow Knight costume as far as I've researched in the few minutes before the show. Honestly, pretty good, guys. I'm not going to lie. This one's kind of drippy.
I didn't think I'd ever hear the word drippy be used on a broadcast, but Kenneth, I agree with you.
It's pretty good. He kind of put all out into it. Okay, let's go to our next one. This is league owner Tyler Murray. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, he's giving us a look there.
It's like he's ready to take that thing off, I think.
Yeah, he's asking us. He was like, try to get through it as quick as possible so I can get this thing off.
I think he's having some trouble reaching the steering wheel as well. I think he's got a big belly there.
I don't think he really wants to wear this when the track starts getting fiery and the racing begins. So that's the costume for league owner Tyler Murray. Again, the best drivers will be picked on 4Wide social media, and the winner will end up with a cash prize. This is Christopher Bishop. Now that I got it wrong the first time, I'm going to get it right this time around. I don't know what this is. Is this a caveman? Is this a metal artist? I don't know.
I don't know. He's got a bald spot right on the top of the head. I'm just now noticing that.
Yeah.
Maybe he could tell us more. I'll ask him later, see what this is supposed to be. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Charlie, Francisco, you got any ideas?
It's spooky. I'm trying to figure out how he's able to see out of that. I'm guessing the eyes are some sort of mesh, but that's pretty opaque to me.
I don't know. The eyes look bigger. Reminds me of the Geico caveman, if anything. Y'all remember that? Y'all know that? All right.
I'm not too sure.
All right, we'll move into the next one. This is Kyle Benson. This might be my favorite. I'm not going to lie. This might be my favorite costume that we have tonight. You can't even see his face. He's a Pop-Tart.
He's got googly eyes down there, if we could see it. And the mouth is Pop-Tart filling. I don't think this is the Pop-Tart Bowl mascot where you can toast it, though. I think this is a mesh of some sort.
I was gonna say, when I see this, I think of the Pop-Tart Bowl, and obviously at the end of that, the Pop-Tart was lowered into the toaster, and we know what happened after that. So I don't think that's gonna happen to Benson tonight, but that's I see that and I think that.
Well, you know the banner that Pop-Tart was holding when it got put in the toaster for the first time. Dreams do come true. Can the dream come true for Kyle Benson if he wins this costume contest? We talked to Jaden Porter earlier. This is his costume. He said it was his sister's husband's costume. I think it's pretty good. Where's Waldo? I like it.
I'm a fan of Waldo.
He's got the red Powerade to go along with it, too.
I mean, usually you have to find him in a crowd, but, I mean, we only have him solely on this camera here, so it's pretty easy to find them. Let's go to our next one. This is Alex Schumacher, good friend of ours, and he told us a couple days before we got through this broadcast tonight, this is Happy Gilmore. He was just standing up showing the jersey on the backside, so this is the Happy Gilmore fit that he's got on for tonight.
He's missing the hockey stick golf club. That's the only thing. But the jersey looks on. If we could get him to turn around, I want to see the name on the back. Yeah, turn around.
There he goes.
Yep. Oh.
He showed us earlier. I think he's there. Oh, he's got the club.
Oh, he's showing us a swing.
He does that.
Oh, look at his swing.
Wow. There it is. That is some great stuff. Great stuff. Let's move on. Daniel Moore. This is a Buffalo Sabres costume. So right in the thick of things during hockey season, Charlie.
Great words from Charlie.
Yeah, he's speechless. I think
he's our hockey guy. He's got
a little bit more to do with the swing, but yeah. We've moved on. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We did.
I thought we were still talking about Alex.
Come on, pick up. Chop. Let's move on with it. All right, next one is Curtis Kelly, fellow Canadian friend. He's got the Stitch paint scheme on tonight. He's got a Stitch costume. How about that?
Oh, he's got ears.
I will say it's fitting that he's wearing that baby blue suit for Stitch as the Blue Jays are leading the Dodgers in the World Series Game 5 right now.
Yeah, they had a huge win last night. They're going to try to get another one, move ahead in the series 3-2 after the absolute marathon of a Game 3 that we had not too long ago, a couple days back. Our final one, this is Michael Newbraw. And this is well done. This is a full-on suit. That's the Grinch right there. And stealing Christmas, he might steal a costume contest.
He very well might. That is it's not a cheap onesie. I can tell just from the
it's got some detail.
It does. It's got like a, you can see shape. Usually with those cheap onesies, you don't really see the shape, but that's quality right there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are all of the costumes from the drivers tonight as they get ready for qualifying. Quickly, let's get into our picks. Francisco, I'll start with you. Who do you think has the best costume here?
Wow, tossing to me first. Okay, that's on the spot. To be honest, I think honestly I'm gonna go with the last pick here. I'm gonna go with the Grinch costume. It really is just that good.
Ooh.
I like it. Charlie, do you have any specific picks? Any favorites?
Oh man, I like Where's Waldo. I think Jaden's hair actually complements the costume and kind of wraps it in to what Where's Waldo actually looks like. So I think Jaden Porter's got the best one.
All right, so we've got Michael Newbraw, Jaden Porter, who are going to be the other two. Keelan, who you got?
I think I got to go with the big bird, the big chicken outfit that we have on Tyler Murray over there. I want to say it's the Family Guy chicken that he's going for. If he could get in the shot, that would be nice. But I think the big chicken is going to be my pick.
You know, I don't think he's going to like you by the time this show is over. He's going to look on social media and see that he's going to be one of the final 4 picks as he gets ready for qualifying. I'm going to take my pick here, and I'm just going to say I'm gonna go with the Happy Gilmore. I'm going to go with Shuey. I mean, this is a great costume. I've never seen someone wear a Happy Gilmore costume before in real life or even on social media. So I think Shoe Sanity is going to extend to the costume contest. So give me Alexander Schumacher as he's going to try to go for his first win tonight from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. All right, guys. Well, that was good roster.
I'm surprised.
I'm surprised the Pop-Tart. I'm surprised the Pop-Tart got shut out.
You know what? I was thinking the Pop-Tart, but he took it off. He said he was getting a headache. So, you know, I'm going to dock some points for that. So I'm going to give it to Shuey.
If you're not racing in the costume, you can't qualify for the finals. That's how it is.
All right, well, those are all the costumes. That'll do it for us on the Thousand Islands Correct pre-race show. Thank you so much for joining us. But on the other side, the 8th race of the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series from the Bristol Motor Speedway. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go racing!
Welcome to the Thousand Islands Cruette in Clayton, New York. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come in for a tasting and our helpful and knowledgeable staff will help you find the perfect olive oils or vinegars to add that perfect touch to your next meal. We have monthly specials and sales as well as new pairings and recipes, so there's always something new to try when you visit. The Thousand Islands Cruette on James Street in Clayton. And don't forget, hey, no touchy the tankies.
That's my bonus for my quota. Boy, don't nobody home. I just get a check in the jail with the set. All we do is rap. Ain't worried about next. I'm just making plays, Broadway in the flesh. On us. This right here with the owner.
The newest challenge of the season takes form in the hub of short track speed and the fastest half-miler, where the KBueno Racing Network welcomes you live to the 8th affair in the Season 8 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series and its clash from the Bristol Motor Speedway. Welcome to the coverage. So glad that you're joining us here tonight as we move on to what's been so far a fantastic 2025-26 4Wide Racing season, where alongside Francisco Bacalhau and Keelan Belsha, I'm Kenneth Bueno. We'll have our pit reporter Charlie Byer give us all the storylines all night long from the lane. Francisco, it's going to be a wild one this evening. Second short track race of this 25-26 4Wide Racing season. We were out of Richmond very early on in the campaign. Now we take on a track that's just about as long. It's a little bit shorter, but it's much faster. Higher chances for chaos tenfold.
We're addicted to the chaos, if you want to call it that way. The Bristol Motor Speedway is the Coliseum. It is inspired by the Rome and the Coliseum efforts from all the way back in ancient times. Here's a look at the track from above. You see just over half a mile in actual length, opened back in 1961, and the banking is down from previous years. It used to reach all the way up to 35 degrees, but they slowly started chipping away at it, and it's now down to just less than 30 degrees. A little bit of banking on the straightaways to be there as well. We have an onboard lap to demonstrate as well, and it was ran by you. I'm not sure if it looks like this was post update, so it is rather accurate. And here you go. Bristol, I would say now, Kenneth, for sure, is a little bit more bottom feeder than it was before. Back then, we would see Bristol basically be the top is where you want to be for speed and to make long run pace. But now, I'm not so sure that's the case. It definitely looks like the bottom is probably going to be the way to go for most of these drivers tonight.
Lots of chances to save tires as well on the inside of the racetrack. Keelan, this is our second short track race of this season, but this will not be the first time we see the fastest half miler on the schedule. Francisco mentioned in our Thousand Islands Correct pre-race show, we're going to see this track again in a much higher staked situation. We're going to have the playoffs in the middle of this one when Bristol comes back to the schedule, so it is going to be a little bit testy for the driver base. Figure out what these cars, what this race will feel like. If they end up in a situation, round of 10, they've got a chance at a championship, they can use those skills, hone them in for the next Bristol race, and get to work.
It definitely is an advantage to get out there and run these laps, especially if you're going to be in that playoff hunt in the round of 10 in 6 months. But you have to remember how much about these cars can change in the next 6 months. That's like 2 builds worth of updates. We can easily see that horsepower update come to this thing in Bristol and maybe have a little bit more power in these race cars. So it could be a completely different race by the time we get there in 6 months. But still, having those laps out there tonight, it's going to be an advantage.
It is going to be a fun one here from virtual Bristol, Tennessee. Let's dive into our starting grid as the drivers have taken the racetrack and as we get ready for our 8th race of the Season 8 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series season. We're on the pole for the first time in Season 8. It is going to be the 51 machine of Steven Maggio gets back to the pole. The Cairo, New York native will lead this one from the front at a 15.062, and the difference 1/1000th of a second. Ethan Fonseca Moreno, Season 6 winner here in 4-wide from Bristol. He'll be on the outside in row number 1. Back in row number 2 is the driver who finished runner-up here 2 seasons ago in the Xfinity Series car. Lawson Peel runs from 3rd. Amir Bascombe, who tangled with Peel in the midway portion of the Kentucky race to end up crashing out. He will try to regain some composure tonight. He'll try to get his 2nd straight Bristol victory on the KBueno Racing Network as he won the race in the SAC Cup Series not too long ago. 2-time Bristol Motor Speedway winner Eric Schaefer takes tonight from 5th place, with Jonathan Juergensmeyer on the outside in position number 6. Back behind them, Blaine Snyder, the rookie who crashed early on in Kentucky last week. He'll try to rebound from 7th. Kyle Benson back in 8th. And then rounding out the top 10, Juan Escamilla runs in 9th. Alex Schumacher tries to keep on his shoe sanity run from the top 10.
11th will go to the 77 of Daniel Moore with Jaden Porter in the number 28 Mountain Dew Chevrolet. Rolling off 13th is going to be Tyler Murray, the league owner. We saw him in that chicken suit no longer as he'll roll off from 13th, with Connor Trafari making his return here. And an 09 machine rolling off in 14th. Trevor Haley rounds out the top 15 and is number 4 next to Nicholas Baum, and teammate of his in the 16th spot. 17th will go to Mikey Neal in the number 8 machine, with Michael Newbrawl, the Grinch, will be rolling off from 18th here tonight, with Michael Walls and CJ Mooney rounding out the top 20. Keelan.
Back in the 11th row in the starting grid, Brandon Banks in a number 5 machine, with Jared Wilson making his first start in 22nd. Brandon Gillis in the 9 car will start in 23rd, with Craig Lautenslager at his outside at 24th. Row number 13 consists of AJ Green in the 48, Curtis Kelly in the 71. Back in the 14th row, it'll be last year's winner at this racetrack, Kyle Tursack, starting deep tonight with Jesse Prees and a 0 to his outside. And back rounding out the top 30, it'll be Chris Fowler and Dusty Applin.
Back behind them, 31st will go to Craig Parks in his number 17 car. Randy Showers, the rookie, in the 22, 32nd for him. And our final row here tonight from Bristol, 34 cars deep. J.J. Hill returns in 33rd. Christopher Bishop will bring in the end from 34th place. Still awaiting the top 2 to get on the grid before we get started tonight from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. If you want to know what the track conditions are, we are in a pretty crisp day here in Bristol, Tennessee. 73 degrees on the track temperature. We saw a high of basically 100 plus in the qualifying session, so a lot of the driver base, Francisco had to deal with a scorching hot track temperature. Will be probably under the lights, a little bit easier to drive, but it's still going to be a challenge as we get ready for this one.
Going to be completely different to what we saw earlier in qualifying. We had 100 degrees in the track temperature, but now we're sitting here with a much cooler track as we start to work our way into the night with this sunset starting time and make our way proper into this Bristol night race for the first of 2 this season. And there's your front row on the grid. They're both running, I'll say, pretty similar paint schemes to one another in purple and black Halloween themed cars, and they're going to look to try and go at it here for the win at Bristol.
Those two, they've tangled several times. For Maggio, his 6th career 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series pole. Remember, he won so many races last season to make it into the Championship 5, just a bit short to Brandon Hawken and Curtis Kelly, but in his sophomore appearance in 4Wide competition, back in action tonight in a trick-treat win, McDonald's Toyota Camry looking to score his first victory in a little while. Well, as the field settles behind the iRacing official pace car, ready for the green flag in just a few moments, Keelan, let's take it down to you. What are your keys to the race to win here tonight from the Last Great Coliseum?
Oh, the most important one tonight is going to be avoid the chaos. It is a strong possibility that these cautions will build up, so you want to avoid those. Keep your cars clean. And if those cautions do come out, we have seen these short track races be decided by one, maybe sometimes no pit stops. So save your fuel, make it stretch as long as you can. The less time you spend on pit road, the more you can spend up in the front. Keep your temper in check. That is something that we are going to have to watch this evening. We have seen the short track tempers ramp up, most recently at Richmond, which resulted in Kyle Benson being suspended for a week. Nobody wants to see that again. And don't forget your costume. It's Halloween. Everybody's got to be ready this weekend. For more on this race tonight at Bristol, down on pit road, we're joined by Charlie Byer.
Good evening from the pit lane, guys. 225 laps tonight at the world's fastest half mile, the longest race this season by lap count, tied with the other Bristol race in the latter half of the season, guys. For pit strategy tonight, I would mention the fuel run and how many green flags pit stops we're expecting, but guys, to be honest, we know what to expect from the Last Great Coliseum, so I'll jump straight to my usual saying. I will be giving you guys all the updates, including damage repair, and just in case, tire and fuel situation all night long and as it unfolds. My winner's pick tonight, guys, I could go for the safe option and pick a Baby Yard driver to continue the streak that they've been on, but based on unpredictability alone, guys, how about Connor Trafari?
Connor Trafari, that's the pick. Green flag out and already chaos from the pole sitter. Maggio goes sliding into the inside wall, carries Eric Schaefer, and Amir Bascom with him. There's more crashing in turn 1.
That's a repeat of last week when we saw the 7 car lose it on the front of the field. And I think, Kenneth, that has to be a case of first gear striking once again.
An unbelievable set of circumstances to begin the race. Two-time Bristol winner Eric Schaefer already in trouble. And the pole sitter goes sliding before we get to complete lap number 1. And another tough start, as the 51 machine of Maggio will be docked all the way at the back of the field. Car is still okay for the most part, and we can't even complete lap number 1. So here's how it all unfolded. Amir Bascom also wiggled sideways, but Keelan, it just looked like the jitters were there still. Francisco said it, first gear restart, or initial start in this case, tire spin of the maximum, and Maggio slips out. Bascom gets involved, and then there's Schaefer getting put into the mix as well.
Yeah, last week at Kentucky, it was Blaine Snyder on the front row that suffered a very similar fate to what Maggio did right there, and just getting a little hard on the gas. There's that banking that you're kind of coming off to onto the restart zone right there. It's an awkward point to accelerate, so when you're trying to get all you can, there's nothing out the windshield. I mean, you're just 51 just trying to get everything he can down there and carry that speed into turn number 1, because he knows he's going to have to be racing Ethan down into the corner. Unfortunately, it's going to be a rough start for him that is going to turn the race lead over to Lawson Peel in the 12 machine. Look at him scoot by this on the inside, and at the time of caution, scored ahead of the 92. So that is going to be what puts Lawson Peel from 3rd to 1st without really having to do anything on the initial start of the race.
Well, you looked on board with Eric Schaefer, and that was a crucial tap to the back end of his teammate's car that pushed Lawson Peel just barely out in front of Ethan Fonseca-Moreno by the time the yellow came out. So it looks like first lap sled of the night will go to the number 12 and the Columbus, Mississippi native of Lawson Peel. We mentioned his 2nd place finish, or his 2nd place finish rather, 2 seasons ago. Back in season 6, was facing off against the driver who's right behind him, Ethan Fonseca-Moreno. They were out in an all-out duel. In those final few laps, Francisco, it was a showdown of the ages. One of many that we would see between those two up until the championship race where they went at it for the title, but probably a bit more of a coincidence that these two are together right here, right now. But we'll get our first proper green flag restart out and away with Lawson Peel in front.
Let's see how this restart goes now with the initial start underway. Now guys are expecting something similar to happen, but also how does Lawson Peel attack this restart? We know he's in control. It's going to be tough for Moreno to try and get a launch, but Peel chose the bottom, and I think that's something different than we've seen in previous Bristol races. Normally the leader would take the top every single time, but now with the bottom being so much better than it has been in years past, we could see the leader go down low. That's a great launch for Peel. He'll clear away to the lead. Jurgensmeyer side by side for second.
Jurgensmeyer pointing to the inside in turn one. As Moreno plays the defense, first proper green flag lap could be completed here. And Lawson Peel stretches out in front. His first lap's led. Only 2 top 10s in this Season 8 campaign so far. His best finish coming last week at the Bluegrass State Kentucky Speedway. Second place in the strategy move that got him right behind Ethan Fonseca. Moreno continues to lead. At lap number 7, it's single file through the top 6.
We talked about it earlier in that onboard lap that we saw before we got to the grid about how much of a bottom feeder this racetrack has become. You think back to last season's race here where Kyle Tursak dominated. We saw a lot of guys up on the top side of the racetrack, and that is where the speed was. So far tonight, that bottom is coming in, and that is where people are all over the racetrack. Daniel Moore having a good start to this race, sitting in the 6th position right now. Good to see that 1,000 Islands of Corvette car up here up front.
Great qualifying effort for Moore. Saw him in that Buffalo Sabres costume for our contest. And great to see him a part of it. Brought in that 1,000 Islands Corvette sponsorship for the pre-race show, and great partners they have been over the course of this Season 8 4-wide racing season. We'll see Moore step into potentially 5th if he can try and catch up to the Pennsylvania native and the Pop-Tart costume, Kyle Benson. Battle for 8th right behind them. That's Tyler Murray, Connor Trafari, and Trafari making his 2nd start in this 4-wide season. Yellow flag waves for the 2nd time tonight. There's trouble at the back, and I believe, yes, Brandon Gillis may have been the cause of the smoke. And he'll bring it back up through the apron. We'll take our 2nd yellow, Francisco, lap 11.
And it looks like Gillis had some help there to bring out this caution flag. We'll get the replay up here just to see it. But it looks like he was racing for, I believe it was the 27th or so position with the 21 of J.J. Hill. And going into turn 3, it was J.J. Hill making a little bit of contact with the 9 car, and that sent the 9 car spinning. There's a little bit of iRacing contact there as well to help play a role, but ultimately it's what sends Gillis around. And I'll say his car is relatively clean, so no big damage here on the 9 car. And Charlie Byer with a report on pit road.
And just an update for the cars involved in the last yellow flag. Chris Fowler did take some damage, went a lap down. Eric Schaefer is still on pit road. Actually, he's just coming up, but he is 3 laps down on the racetrack. And Amir Bascombe, who was one of the main drivers involved in that, he dropped all the way down to the end of the lead lap, is continuing to repair damage on pit road, but he was all the way up to 25th on the restart, up 5 from where he started. So just an update on those drivers. No DNF so far in this race.
Thank you, Charlie. There's Eric Schaefer on pit road, joined by Bascombe, joined by Maggio. What a tough start of the race it's been for all 3 of those guys, especially Maggio here in his 6th pole of his 4-wide career. Captured the 5 last season, his first of 2025 and 26. And so he'll be mired at the back. Lots of damage there. Keelan, it's tough to say how chaotic Bristol can be, but I mean, it took lap 1, not even the first completed lap. It was just 1 trip around the straightaway under green, and it got everybody riled up and already under our 2nd yellow flag. Something we've come to notice and be accustomed to here at the fastest half mile.
And this is a track where you hate to get that damage early because of you don't really have opportunity to repair a lot of damage here on this pit road. It's a long pit road, and the pace laps are so short. If you choose to get damage repaired, I mean, you're probably either going a lap down or you're getting 5 seconds and then pulling out. So it's one of those tough racetracks where if you get damage, you kind of got to live with it for the remainder of this race. It's not like a Kentucky like we were at last week where you could take advantage of these caution laps and get that car fixed up without losing a lap. It's a tough one. You hate to get damage here, especially early in the going, but it also, in the same token, the damage doesn't hurt you near as bad here as it would at a Kentucky Speedway as far as aerodynamically, because the track is so short, the speeds are so high compared to how fast you're going around this racetrack. Aerodynamically, you're not really losing much, but it still does suck, especially if you're down on power, of how much of a deficit it can be.
Well, for the drivers up front, they're looking at a solid start to this race. Peel has led a majority of this race since taking the lead on the opening jump. Moreno on the outside to react. He was in that fight for second with Jurgensmeyer right before this caution flew. Green flag back from Bristol Motor Speedway, and a much better jump from this 92 car. He'll flail to the outside looking for a shot at the race lead. He'll settle in behind. Back to turn 3, battle for 6th place.
There's Daniel Moore able to make the outside work. Will get the momentum on Kyle Benson to move his way up into the 5th spot. And there's Blaine Snyder, who had the trouble early last week, but has already found himself with a much better start. He runs nicely in the 4th spot. Trafari up to 7th, and Tyler Murray inside this top 10.
We saw Snyder be one of those early exits at Kentucky alongside Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. So for these two cars running 3rd and 4th, this is the ultimate gotta get it race here from Bristol Motor Speedway. Jurgensmeyer, who was fresh off of his first career 4Wide Racing TJ's team victory at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway in a last lap scuffle, not between himself and other drivers, but between the drivers that were in front of him. Mikey Neal, Gabriel Dahari made contact at the final corner. Jurgensmeyer just about sneaked by to get his first victory. Told us that wasn't the exact way he would have envisioned his first ever 4Wide win, but he's got it in the back pocket. He's got a playoff spot. And after last week's frustration where it was just a hardware issue, the wheel had disconnected, car went straight up into the outside wall, got slammed by Snyder. These two cars, Ford and Chevrolet, going to try and pick themselves up in a solid start right now, both of them inside this top 5. We look to the top 15, some movement, just a bit of shuffling, especially here between these two KBueno Racing teammates. There's the 28 machine of Jaden Porter, finished 3rd here last season. Mikey Neal, the Wake Forest North Carolinian, and that Budweiser Chevrolet, watching the fight between Porter and Escamilla develop inside this top 15.
Going to make up track position back here. If you have that qualifying lap and you're a little bit deeper in the pack, it's a little bit harder to make up track position, but right now you see Porter and Neal working on Escamilla down there in the 87, who loses a bit of ground on the top side of this racetrack. And you can really make either one of these lines work, but it's about how that car will treat you on the long run. This bottom seems to be the place where everybody wants to live right now, so they have that speed a little bit later into the run, as we see Mikey Neal make the pass, and Juan Escamilla just losing spot after spot on the top right there. Lost a spot to Bauman, and now I believe under attack from Craig Lautenslager as the caution comes out again.
And trouble, Dusty Applin seems to be in it. Yes, he is, off the straightaway. That's turn 2, back straightaway, the spin for the Can-Am Chevrolet. Dusty Applin technically in his sophomore appearance in his 4Wide career, and goes for the spill, I think much like Brandon Gillis did early on to bring out our second caution flag. Let's see what happened here, and I think it might have just been a touch or two with Curtis Kelly. Man, they were on each other the entire stretch of the corner, Francisco, and here's kind of where it boils over.
Looks like just gets into the back of it going into the corner, and it was a slow spin up until he got to the marbles for Applin, and you see a little bit of contact with Maggio, but his car might be okay. We'll get the onboard look here. Here's Dusty's rear view as he tries to get in front of the 71. Doesn't do anything really there to Curtis, and there's the shot by the 71 and a secondary contact, and that's what slowly sends the 16 spinning.
Well, the good thing for the 16 of Applin is that he doesn't pick up any damage, although Curtis Kelly will now be at the back end of this field. That is a product, Keelan, of a brand new rule change from the 4Wide admins, an attempt to sort of clean things up for the driver base after lots of cautions in the first 5 to 6 races of this Season 8 campaign. And it's sort of a cause caution rule where you can claim fault for incidents by texting C in the iRacing chat. That will let the admins know that you are claiming fault for the incident, and you can get an end-of-line penalty. And of course, things can pick up if you end up causing more incidents, but seems to be the first proper example for Curtis Kelly here. Cause of this yellow, he'll be at the back end of the longest line and taking this opportunity to hit pit road.
Yeah, I'm going to get 4 fresh tires on it there, and now he has to beat the pace car out. As the byproduct of pinning here under caution at Bristol, as you see him in his Stitch outfit, Stitch paint scheme going on up there. He has a really nice webcam, I will mention, Kenneth, that he's got the whole blur effect going on in the background and everything, so he's He must have done a Twitch stream once or twice.
That's true, and he's the only driver in this field that is matching his car paint scheme with this costume. Down to pit road and to Charlie Meyer.
And you saw Curtis Kelly talking under the yellow flag, or at least when we were seeing him, he was had some words for the other drivers around him on the racetrack. But just a bit of updates around the field. Steven Maggio has all his damage repaired after the first yellow flag. He will restart in the 21st position. Eric Schaefer is still on pit road, down 2 laps, getting damage repairs. Jesse Priest and Brandon Gillis, 5 laps down and 10 laps down respectively. They have called this race quits. They are the first two DNFs tonight.
Thank you, Charlie. Tough end for Jesse Parise and for Brandon Gillis. We saw him spinning around. Not much damage on his 9 Ford Mustang as maybe we anticipated, but looks like he's already out early at lap number 28. Green flag restart. All in control of Lawson. Pio Moreno slips back. Here comes Jurgensmeyer for the attack in turn 1.
A great restart for Lawson Pugh this time to get out in front. Jurg settles into third. There's Benson peeking at the bottom now of the 7 machine. Trafari, and looks like also Tyler Murray into the top 10 as well, trying to gain those spots. There's the battle with Shuey, and how about Michael Wallace, who's done a really good job of fighting his way through the field. Started outside the top 10 or so, and he's driven his way up into 7th early.
Daytona winner trying to get another win for this newly minted GOAT Incorporated team that involves Michael Wallace, also involves Justin Rott, who picked up his best career 4-wide finish last week at the Kentucky Speedway. Sort of asked him whether he was going to be in this race, and he has not shown up, so we're not going to see Justin Rott tonight. Hopefully see him later as their spin behind. Kyle Benson gets tapped around, and he'll go hard into the outside wall, and the nightmare continues. Kelly gets into it. Mikey Neal may have gotten a tap, and Benson's car destroyed on the apron.
I believe J.J. Hill also got a bad hit of that right there, so several cars going to be tore up in this one, and Kyle Benson, a pretty nightmare season for him so far, and it is not going to get better tonight.
And the
I mean, for a brief
Kyle
moment,
Benson.
it looked like, for a brief moment there, Kenneth, it looked like he tried to slide up in front of Michael Walls as Walls had that run off the corner trying to gain that spot, but they might have merged on one another. Here's a look from the 38. Has to check up a little bit from Blaine Snyder. Trafari's on his outside, and looks like Walls tries to fill in that gap, but I'm not sure if the 38 thought he can slide in there before turn 1, but nonetheless, you see the contact head on there with J.J. Hill, Mikey Neal, and Curtis Kelly getting a piece of it.
There's another look from Kyle Benson, and not to make any puns, but looks like the Pop-Tart costume is going to be crunched very quickly. There's the contact with Walsh. Just minor contact. It's hard to know whether you're fully clear or not. Benson gets sent around, and that's not even the hardest blow. It'll be right here to that left rear tire. Curtis Kelly slams him right. Remember that 71 had gone down pit road to get his car repaired, and all of a sudden more trouble for the Williamsport, Pennsylvania native. He'll be out of this race 34 laps deep from Bristol. He's had a tough start to Season 8, Keelan Belcher. He only has 2 top 10s. His first one coming at Daytona, ended up with a 4th place finish, and then rallied back for 3rd at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, our first ever trip to Montreal. But ever since, he has not been able to use that marker and get back to that point. 32nd the following race, 11th in his last start at Kentucky. So not entirely the worst in the world for Benson, but tonight, early on, is not what he wanted to see at all.
Yeah, just trying to plug that hole in front of Michael Walls, and unfortunately gets him turned. He had a good qualifying lap, and looked like he was going to be en route to a solid day today if he could just stay out of trouble. But you see right here, Michael Walls just gets that run up the middle. I mean, I don't know how much Benson came up as much as Micah maybe tapped the wall right there. They may have kind of met each other in the middle right there, but still, Micah's okay, Kyle isn't. So that 38 car tore up, had to tow it to pit road, so his day, fortunately, may be coming to an end pretty quickly.
You know, he told me a week or so ago at Kentucky Speedway, when I asked him to teach me how to drive the racetrack, he said, when I asked him about how Season 8's gone, he said it's gone horrible, that he's hoping that it turns around at some point. He was hoping that the 3rd place finish from Montreal would be that turning point so that he can get around to full form and be back in championship contention. But for this first part of the 2025-26 4-wide season, it has been a nightmare. Lots of scares that this 38 has not been able to overcome. There's a look at the incident once again. That slight contact, again, a slight miscommunication between those 2 Ford Mustangs. Michael Walsh continues in this race, although he will restart back in 24th. Green flag restart, lap 37, another swimmingly from the 12 of Lawson Peel. Moreno slips right behind him. Jurgensmeyer looking for an entryway to second. Can't quite do it yet. Connor Trafari looks on. Blaine Snyder for 4th place.
And a little bit of contact in turn 3 between Trevor Haley and the 36 of Tyler Murray as they were side by side for the 7th place spot. And just behind that, it's Daniel Moore who remains in the top 10, and Jaden Porter slowly but surely moving his way up through into this top 10. And Moreno's trying to arc the corner as well. He's consistently been trying to get some runs on your race leader. He's now to the outside for the race lead.
Gonna look for the top spot. Moreno has been looking for this opportunity all night long, and he's gonna have a shot at it here at the exit of the corner, looking for turn 4. Slides up high. Peel will clear for the race lead in turn 1.
Peel's been doing a good job working that bottom right now, but Ethan has been getting the run off the corners on the middles right here. And you see him try to close up, but that is where Peel just gets his best run, is right through the center of the corner. Moreno gets a little bit off, but it's just not enough because Peel can slide up there, put the air in front of his nose, and slow him down as the caution comes out again here on lap number 41. I'll have to try it again, see if they can do, and see if Moreno can do anything, get around him. Curtis Kelly, again with damage on that nose.
We'll see where the trouble was, but there's that damaged 71 machine as will be under the yellow flag again. Again, we haven't really had a proper green flag run since about the 2nd run of the race, when we had our first yellow flag come out from the initial start jump. We'll try to get another look as to how this all unfolded, who ended up in the spill. Looks like it was Mikey Neal going around at the exit of the corner. May have had some help, but Francisco, this is the trouble spot. Neal had been running inside the top 15. And just a simple slide off the corner, turn 4. Does a good job of carrying it back to the straightaway without any damage.
Yeah, but unfortunately, because of how much he slowed down, it brought out the yellow flag. You saw him roll out of the brakes there, re-enter the racing surface, and still some cars yet to pass. That will bring out the caution for iRacing, and unfortunately for him, he's going to have to take a claim on that one and go to the rear of the field and sort this one out from the tail end of the longest line. But so far, we've seen Moreno with his best opportunity at making runs at Lawson Peel, trying to take over the race lead. We'll see what he's able to learn for the next restart. And now we go to Charlie Bye for another pit report.
And just some more updates from down in the pit lane. Eric Schaefer got the lucky dog of this yellow flag after being involved from the first yellow flag and spent some time repairing his damage. He's back on the lead lap. Curtis Kelly's on pit road still, trying to make it out before the leaders do. Craig Parks currently out there as well, but for drivers who are closing the book on their Bristol race, Amir Bascombe, who was spending some time on pit road to repair bits of his damage during the yellow flag, he has disconnected from the session, as well as Kyle Benson. But some good news, Brandon Gillis has re-entered the session. 15 laps down, not a single scratch in his car. He'll restart in 31st.
Good to hear that from Brandon Gillis. Thank you, Charlie. And we've got word as well that Eric Schaefer is back on the lead lap, Francisco. I mean, we talk about short tracks, how easily you can go from 0 to hero, or vice versa. And for Schaefer, he had gone multiple laps down, getting this car repaired from that first lap incident with Steven Maggio and Amir Bascombe. He's got his car fixed, and the 2-time Bristol winner can be back at it from 25th on the lead lap, so he can pass some cars now.
Yeah, he did the most difficult part, which was getting back on the lead lap, but it really worked out in his favor. All the trouble early while he was the first car lap down, is able to then maintain a lap on his competition, and sure enough, he did a good job. Now he's on the lead lap, and we'll see if that 3 car can make some positions up and try to pass some cars, as he has to drop to the tail end, of course, for being the free pass. And Peel continues to choose the bottom. I'm not surprised by this, considering the changes we've seen to the Bristol Motor Speedway since the update, though I'm wondering, when does Moreno get a solid enough start, hold the outside strong enough to contend for the top spot, or when does Jurg get a good enough restart to move up to second?
We also haven't seen the longest green flag run yet. It's been rather shallow. Medium to long green flag runs have been hard to come by. Green flag, lap 46, good start by Peel. Moreno will jump back up to the place where he's been oh so comfortable all night long, shutting down Jurgensmeyer for second. Now the battle for third. Connor Trafari slowly picking his way up to the field at the exit of turn 4. What a drive from Trafari in his second 4-wide start of the season.
See him making that middle to the outside groove work to make that pass. Now he's trying to get to the inside of Moreno there for the second position. Last week, Charlie got his first prediction right with Moreno in victory lane at Kentucky. Connor Trafari looking really good right now at Bristol. If he could go 2 for 2 in back-to-back weeks, get his first 2 predictions right just like that, that'd be something. That Connor Trafari machine in the 09 looks really fast right now.
Charlie Bauer photography onboard camera with the Lot 9 Brewing Company Chevrolets. He chases down Moreno in second place. Trafari on the top of the iRacing Mountaintops after getting the SAC Cup Series Championship last week at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway, a place in which he made his first start this season in, but unfortunately got caught up in a wreck involving that 92 car in front and the 51, the pole sitter of Steven Maggio. Yellow flag out again and a spinner right in the middle of the field, and it's Michael Newbraw around. We saw the Grinch steal the costume contest. Well, he's going to get track position stolen from him on this spin.
And once again, it was a situation of getting help to send him around, and it looks like this time it's once again with Michael Walls, and this time it's a little bit more clear. Walls taps the wall off of forward, and Newbraw has nowhere to go. That sends him into the wall, and he has no choice. Goes straight, does a good job of locking it up, and I think he tries to accelerate afterwards. We'll see it extended here on this angle on the onboard. He's racing a 60, and he's expecting the 60 to just go out, so it kind of uses him as an idea. Walls gets into the wall. There's the slide to the inside, and watch this as it continues to go. He has it down. He tries to accelerate, and that kind of quasi spins him, and that nearly gets him up in front of the leaders.
And that's also because of that apron transition, Keelan. It could be so hard to get yourself back on the gas pedal. And, we've talked about it in this next-gen era, flattest cars that we've ever seen when it comes to the underbody. You don't have a lot of space down there. It's that full floor, then the diffuser on the back end of the car that's a little bit trimmed out for the short track package, but it's still mostly intact here on the next-gen cars as far as Bristol is concerned. But look there for Michael Newbraw. Just got a little bit beached. Thankfully was able to recover, get that car back out on the track.
It's very similar to the super speedways we go to with Daytona and Talladega. You spin out in the corner, you can easily get stuck there on the apron there. So it's just the really aggressive banking that we have at this racetrack, where super easy to get your nose up on the corner banking, and your rear tires kind of down on the flatter apron area, and you just get stuck. And that is the situation Newbraw was in there to bring out the caution flag. Meanwhile, Lawson Peel continuing to lead this, and it has been a kind of very slow start to his season so far, yet to crack into victory lane. Only, a couple times we've seen him up there running up front, and now looking to put together some good runs as this season progresses. This is the first time he's led this many laps this year, so good start to his Bristol race. But Ethan and Connor right behind him, they look really fast.
And it looks like Connor Trafari may have a hefty punch to deal to both of the top leaders, Francisco. He had been setting some of the fastest times, if not one of the all-time fastest cars in the top 5, alongside Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. So give credit to those guys back in rows 2 and 3. They've been able to fire off nicely. And Connor Trafari, the driver on the inside of row number 2, going to try and pack something up for Lawson Peel at the entry of this green flag restart on lap 56.
We'll see if the chaos continues here when we go back green.
Peel on front, that rainbow-colored Exalta Chevrolet will have control of the green flag restart, and Moreno will try and beat him to the Echo Park Automotive restart zone. Pace car will turn left to the entry of pit road. We'll be back to racing here from the Last Craig Coliseum. 55 laps down and so much more to go. Bump on the restart. Peel's got the nose ahead, but Moreno's got him to the quarter panel in turn 1.
Trying his best to stay around the outside, but just the grip has not been there on the second lane to really make that work. He hangs nicely into second, though Trafari will try to be feisty to take over that spot. Jurgensmeyer hangs on to 4th, and Schumacher has been running inside this top 10, and now he has to battle his teammate, Jaden Porter.
And a driver, Keelan Belsha, that was very much sad about the result last week at Kentucky Speedway, was heartbroken at the fact that he chose 2 tires, Moreno chose 2, and that was the game-winning call for the San Jose, California, to be able to step out in front as that race continued on, green flag racing. But it's sort of taking it with a grain of salt as well. Yes, it was a missed opportunity to win, but it was another top 10 effort and another chance at a victory that Schumacher has had here in the early portions of season 8. So already looking good, stepping into 7th here, making that pass on Tyler Murray.
Yeah, Remember, he came in that voice call post-race last week and said, you know, nothing I can do about it now. That is just a learning experience, learning about these next-gen cars, and the more you run up front, the more you learn. As there's a trouble behind him, Trevor Haley around on the backstretch.
And you'll catch Randy Showers with him down the apron. CJ Munier might have had a touch. And Dark Horse Motorsports ends up with one of them with damage. The Mountain Dew Baja Blast, or the Baja number 4 machine, ends up in the outside wall. We'll get a recent caution here, lap number 61 of 225. So the two Dark Horse Motorsports teammates tangled together. It's Haley here, Bauman, his teammate on the inside, but watch that red and black 87. That's Juan Escamilla right behind. It's going to be initial contact through the exit of turn 2. And Francisco, it starts with this tap, Haley into the wall. He gets a touch from Escamilla, and they just trail down the car, and a huge hit for Randy Showers.
Yeah, looks like Haley gets sideways on his lonesome there, running way up high on the racetrack in the marbles, and as he tries to correct it and save the car, he hits the wall. Escamilla has nowhere to go. Michael Walls, Dusty Applin, among others, also have nowhere to go as Walls tags the wall. There's a great view of it. You see you can get loose. There comes in the number 22, the 89, the 60, all getting a piece of that.
Here's the onboard from Michael Walls. He couldn't escape this either. Mind you, this is where Steven Maggio's making his comeback here.
Yeah, you saw how high up Haley got up there on the top side of the racetrack. Unfortunately for Walls, he kind of got clear of it before he slid up into the fence down there. But Showers, Escamilla, Haley getting the worst of it. They're all three in that Dark Horse call right now, I believe. So that could be a interesting conversation going on there as all three of them get tore up right there.
Trevor Haley hitting the pit road as well, trying to get his Chevrolet repaired. Brandon Banks, CJ Munier, Michael Walls. Obviously, Michael Newbraw down there as well. Just so many cars that have been already either taken out or have found some sort of damage here at the Last Great Coliseum. It's something that we've obviously expected going into this one. Richmond was the same way with all of the yellows, all of the fast-paced nature of short track events, and coupled with a pretty narrow racing surface, you can find yourself in trouble in more ways than one. And we usually see it a lot of the other mile-and-a-halfs and the bigger tracks on the schedule. So we'll try and get this restart in once again. Lap 65 is where we should get this restart. And again, it's the same front row that we saw on the last green flag run. Peel, Moreno, first and second, Trafari and Juergensmeyer running third and fourth. And rookie Blaine Snyder has not escaped the top 5 for practically the entire race. So give credit to the Snap-on Chevrolet and the rookie driver, again, trying to recover after the early crash sent him out of the race in the Bluegrass State last Wednesday night. Jaden Porter on the outside of row number 3. We talked to him on our Thousand Islands Career pre-race show. He said qualifying was going to matter, and surely qualifying has paid dividends so far for Peel and for Moreno. They will lead this field back to the restart zone. Exalta car in control for Peel. Green flag out to turn 1, and once again, Connor Trafari launches off the pad with all of that juice. He'll be to the inside of Moreno for second.
The momentum off the high side lets the 92 clear for second, as there's Juergensmeyer once again getting to the outside of 7, a little bit loose, gets Blaine Snyder, and now Jaden Porter will try to join the fight in the battle to try and get inside the top 5 for the first time this evening as Juergensmeyer gets into the wall loose.
And he's loose off the wall, is able to tag it right behind. Blaine Snyder almost got Jaden Porter involved in that. That Mountain Dew Chevrolet had to woe up right in front of Tyler Murray, the league owner. That pink, white, and blue Ford Mustang trying to make his way through. Snyder wiggles loose. Outside charge for Juergensmeyer. Battle for fourth.
These two going to stay side. Oh, Snyder, big time wiggle off the final corner right there. Going to cost him a few positions. He gathers it up pretty well to keep it off the inside wall over there. That is going to move Jaden Porter to 28 into the top 5. Tyler Murray one spot out of it. Snyder slips down to the 7th position. He did a really good job corralling that. That could have been a lot worse.
And Francisco, you mentioned the inside lane is probably the best lane of use here at Bristol Motor Speedway because you can save so much of that right front tire. We've seen a lot of the long green flag runs favor those guys who stay connected to the yellow line at the inside. That one trade-off, you get the car a little bit too eager on the throttle, and that car's going to spin around like it almost did with Snyder.
Yeah, it's certainly a little bit more of a proper modern Bristol, which has gone back to the bottom of the racetrack, but this is not with the same tire wear we saw in this year's fall race. This is more representative of last year's fall race where there wasn't that much fall off in terms of lap time. Here's the onboard from Shuey looking back at Steven Maggio, who's cracked the top 10 for the first time since the initial start of the race after his fair share of troubles, has gotten up to 9th place. And I'll tell you what, the laps difference since he last picked could play a pivotal role in his strategy call if we find ourselves in a long run later.
Hey, Happy Gilmore swinging his way to the front. How about it for the Shuey Sportsbook Chevrolet as the Port Huron, Michigan native tries to rally his way into 7th. Right in front is Blaine Snyder trying to work on the league owner in Tyler Murray. But that's a good point you bring up there, Francisco. Long green flag run. If it does kick in, 2 versus 4 will be the big topic of conversation. And nobody is better than executing a 2-tire call than the man sitting right behind Shuey, Steven Maggio, getting his 6th career 4-wide pole tonight, then spinning from the lead on the opening lap. Keelan, he's done a nice job at recuperating his efforts, moving into the top 10 for the first time since that spill.
Yeah, he's finding speed in that race car. There's nobody better at saving that right side tire, in my opinion, than Steven Maggio as the caution comes out again. But he knows how to get the most out of that race car on these long runs. And then when it comes down to making a 2-tire call at the end, he can make it pay off in a big way. As the caution comes out again here on lap number 76. See what the incident was that brought this one out.
A lot of cars letting the traffic by. Of course, Michael Walls being one of them. Chris Fowler, whenever he was getting around, we were trying to look for what was the cause of the yellow flag here as they were coming around the racetrack. But nonetheless, the field will try to hit pit road off the backs of Lawson, Peel, Ethan Fonseca Moreno, and the rest of the field as we'll try to get a better look at how things all unfolded. But Francisco, it really is going to be a matter of getting out early as you can. This is going to be a single pit road use for Bristol Motor Speedway here, so no real worries about being on either end of the speedway and kind of going in on either end. But here comes Peel, here comes Moreno, and everyone through. Let's toss it down to Charlie Beyer.
Hey guys, just over a third of the way through this race, and I am keeping track, over 50% of the field has been involved in some sort of contact with another driver, whether they've gone down to get that repaired or not. But Lawson Peel will bring the field behind them. We thought Ethan Moreno was going to jump below and maybe Lawson would stay out, but they both go in and carrying a lot of cars around. Alex Schumacher is the first car that stays out. So what's the call here, guys? I think 2 tires, as Francisco was telling us a little bit earlier, could be the call. We haven't dipped too long into their fuel tanks yet, but it's certainly time to go get it, and the fuel is, and at least the fuel is split.
Well, Francisco, you said 2 tires. Could that be the call? Right side's up on Moreno, right side's up on Peel as well.
Question is, does someone in the field go for just fuel only for the extra time stop or extra lack of time stop? You see everyone exiting, and it will be a universal 2-tire call, and it looks like a little bit of a slower stop possibly for Maggio, where he actually ends up exiting pretty nicely. But look at this, not everybody pitted, Kenneth. You look at where everybody is, the top 8 cars have stayed out.
And that starts with Alex Schumacher, AJ Green, Craig Lounslager, JJ Hill, and several others. Here's the cause of the yellow. It's Chris Fowler, who was one of those guys on the apron, letting the entire field through lap after lap. Michael Walls had been giving that courtesy to the leaders. It looks like in a bizarre set of circumstances, Fowler had stopped on the racetrack, or at least stopped on the apron, potentially in a way to just get out of the way and disconnect to call his race over. But his car stays on the racetrack, and that's exactly what causes the yellow. So it wasn't exactly a crash, it wasn't a spin, it was just a pure, simple fact of a car just coming to a stop at the inside of the track. Too dangerous for race control. They called the yellow flag as soon as they saw that 11 car come to a screeching halt. So we'll get ready for the restart. All these cars that have stayed out. It's Shuey now leading his first laps tonight with AJ Green on the outside, that UNC Charlotte 49ers Chevrolet, Craig Lounslager, and how about JJ Hill stepping into the top 5 for the first time tonight. They've got Brandon Banks, Mikey Neal, and Dusty Applin behind them. And our first and only driver in the top 3 out of pit road to come in, Nicholas Baumann, took 2 fresh Goodyear Eagles. He's one of the only drivers on a 2-tire call when we get ready here.
And it's going to be interesting to see how these guys hold up here. It is the top 7 or so that are on this alternative strategy. And a couple of cars up there in the first couple set of rows do have damage, so we'll see how much they play a role as the 68er Schumacher leads into the restart zone. A great launch for him. as Peel, you see, will try to navigate his way through. He's going to have to sit behind Banks, and look at him getting bogged down there. Goes Bauman to his outside.
Nothing better than watching the split strategy unfold. Here comes Bauman shooting through the high bank, looking on the outside of Banks. He won't get it. Peel will look down the bottom lane, and right behind them is where they're starting to scrap for mid-pack position. Fresh tire car, and the power's there for Peel, and he'll get turned around by Brennan Banks, entering the corner and entering the straightaway. Lawson Peel gets turned around, and the yellow flag comes out again. The poor luck instills once more for the Columbus, Mississippi native of Lawson Peel.
And that was friendly fire, too.
He was working hard on his teammate Banks there on the inside, and it just looked like Banks maybe got a little loose. We saw it a little bit earlier with Blaine Snyder off the bottom side of the racetrack. It's so easy to lose grip if you just stab the throttle a little too hard. That could have been a situation that got him sideways and into Peel, or maybe Peel a little aggressive there. It'll look and show you, see what happened to get a little bit better of an idea, but they were wrecking all the way down the straightaway there. You see them here. That's off of turn number 2. They go through 3 and 4 here. Bauman on the outside, and I don't know, it's going to be the next corner here. Through 1 and 2 here. We saw Bauman trying to work on the outside of Banks, and we see Banks right there. It looks like Peel just kind of slipped up into him a little bit, and they both lost a little bit of control of their race cars. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer actually got a tough hit from Peel there as well. That was a car who had been running in the top 5 today, so it looked like Banks just didn't fully commit to go up to the wall, and Peel just barely tapped him. Here's a look from Jurgensmeyer in the 2 car as the wreck kind of happened in front of him, and there was just really no escape for him as Lawson Peel tags him. He tank slapped the wall pretty good. Be some rear suspension damage on that 2 car.
And that's the biggest concern you have, Francisco, when you have this split strategy. If someone gets damaged, if someone slips around in front of you, it's going to be bad news for you 100%. There's Peel on pit road. Jurgensmeyer will follow. And even more storylines, Ethan Fonseca Moreno picked up some front-end damage at some point in between the moment of the restart going green and when that caution came out between Peel and Banks. So 3 of the top contenders on pit road at lap 85, and they will lose all the track position they had so very much had for the beginning portion of the race, and Connor Trafari will join them as well.
I had some of that front end damage there that we saw. They're getting some second looks at it. A couple other cars are pitting here, obviously for damage repair. They don't have as much track position. But Peel, he still has some damage to his car, so he's probably going to, at some point, come back down and keep working on it if he gets an opportunity to do so. And that's going to really hurt his strategy. He was on a little bit of an ideal strategy there with the tires just being one of the first to be on those tires. But now that he has to lose the track position, he's behind cars that are on the same set of tires, it could be trouble for the 12 car trying to move his right through. We'll see if he's able to replicate a Stephen Maggio-esque comeback, though.
You mentioned the term bogging down. That's exactly what happened between Moreno and Peel as they had been trying to catch their way through traffic. Obviously, a lot of them slower on the old Goodyear Eagles, still maintaining hope that they can keep that track position for the rest of the run. Green flag once again, lap 87. Shuey stretches out to a 2-car length lead, and how about Mikey Neal already making the move to the inside for second?
A crucial point here is Mikey Neal is on a slightly different strategy than most of those that have stayed out in this race. He's just barely a lap ahead of those that have pitted around him, but also AJ Green has pitted in this race before, so he has not as nearly old tires as your race leader, but only slightly fresh or more used than everybody else, so he can hang on nicely here for second as Shuey's comfortably has the race lead in track position.
And AJ Green moves out in front of Neal, takes away second. Bauman on 2 fresh Goodyear Eagles, trying to make things happen. He's still alive amongst those few that came down pit road for 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. Bauman instilling the 2-tire call, and it's working so far for the Connellsville, Pennsylvania native as he'll look forward on Mikey Neal in the battle for what may be 3rd on the racetrack. And for AJ Green, what a start to season 8 it has been. 5 of the 7 races this season run, all of them top 10s, including back-to-back 9th place finishes at the Kentucky last week, and then the Virtual Auto Club Speedway a few weeks before that. They're spinning behind.
Oh, and Dusty Applin spins.
Ends up in trouble. He'll catch another car. JJ Hill, Connor Trafari spins, and the yellow comes out again. It's been an all-out melee, and this time the newest old tire victim is JJ Hill.
And there was 2 incidents there that happened at once. There was contact between Maggio and Hill, and at the same time, Dusty Applin goes around off of turn 4 from air. So we'll have 2 incidents to look at here, Kenneth.
Tough break for the New Smyrna Beach native of J.J. Hill as he was running right in front of Steven Maggio. Remember, Maggio had been on the fresh tires, moving his way through the field. J.J. among those that had stayed out. Hill had started pretty deep in this race. And this is going to be the initial point of contact between the 21 and the 51. It was a loose moment from Hill off the corner, right in front of Maggio, and nowhere for the New York native to go. And that's the first bit of trouble. Then Dusty Applin is going to come around. Connor Trafari ends up in it as well. And it just becomes a parking lot off the exit. So this is the pack that's building. Moreno, Schaefer, Trafari, Blaine Snyder among those that are getting through. Applin spills at the exit of the corner. Trafari just gets tagged late at the end of the Maggio incident. And it just becomes an even tougher challenge for all of these front runners, Keelan, to make an effort at this race victory when all of this seems to be falling on top of them at the worst time at lap 94.
Yeah, you see Trafari, that was really unfortunate for him. He was just checking up for it. The 17 of Craig Parks just didn't get slowed up enough in time to stay off the 9 car, and it causes him to get hit pretty hard from the rear end right there, and that is going to put damage on that 09 car that had a lot of speed here in the early stages. But everybody's going to get some battle scars today one way or another. Nobody's going to escape this without incident, I don't believe. How many cars on your list, Charlie, do we have that have not been involved in an incident yet today? I know you're keeping track.
Well, it's less than 40 that have, or excuse me, it's less than 40% that have an incident point. Actually, it's more like 20% at this point. I got to recalculate a little bit. But just by looking at incident points alone, we're starting to creep to 20 cars who have had no sort of incident points, or at least damage strong enough to, or at least contact strong enough to inhibit any sort of major damage. Just nothing on that yellow received one from league owner Tyler Murray. So we have just about half of the field that's 1 lap down. I'm just going to restart here.
Thank you, Charlie. We'll get ready for the green flag restart here. Lap 97 of 225. Pretty long race here from Bristol, Tennessee. We'll see just about the same distance when we come back here in the playoffs for the round of 10 when the playoff drivers are going to be vying for a 4-wide championship. Obviously higher stakes then, but so far the stakes have been pretty high for some of these guys on the old sets of Goodyear Eagles. Have been keeping them alive so far. It's Alexander Schumacher in control of the restart. AJ Green on the outside to react. Schumacher launches off the gate nicely, clears in front of Green to turn 1. Mikey Neal, Nicholas Baumann will square up for 3rd place. Baumann on the 2 fresh tires will make the move on the high side.
And Schumacher had a bit of a moment there off of turn 2, got a little bit loose. It allowed AJ Green to maybe have a chance, but he recovers nicely in 3 and 4, and the battle for 3rd continues. Jaden Porter trying to get himself in there, and what a quick recovery it's been for Ethan Fallen second. Moreno, he has already worked his way up into 6th.
What a job for the Season 6 champion of this series. Mikey Neal and Baumann continue to go at it for 3rd. Good battle in the middle of the corner, and I mean, again, we talked about it, how fast you can go from top 10 territory to being all the way mired at the back of the field. You can pick up damage at any given moment in this race. It just takes a couple good restarts, a couple good accident avoidances, and you could be back into the spot in which you were running right before all the trouble ensued. So Moreno hoping that he can get back into the reins. So is Eric Schaefer. Started this race nicely, the 2-time Bristol winner, and has sat on the pole several times here in his 4-wide career. Trying to get another one here in the next-gen era from 8th place in that battle with Tyler Murray currently ongoing. Look at all of those cars running side by side, all within a couple tenths of each other. Keelan, that's the magic of Bristol. All those lines available, and all these guys in the mid-pack have been so close together.
Yeah, they're all over each other, so there's only so much room to go. Everybody kind of has to fan out going into these corners and spread out a little bit. But as we continue to lose cars on the racetrack and we start to get more cars on pit road done for the day, we start to spread out just a little bit more, and it allows these guys to just get a little bit more distance in between. As we see Eric Schaefer working on Blaine Snyder in a 7 machine there, trying to cut his way through the field after a rough start. Went down 3 laps and made them all back in the first 40 laps of this race as he's looking for his 3rd win at this racetrack.
Great battle there as Right in the background, Blaine Snyder looking to make Schaefer flinch in this battle inside the top 10. There's Dusty Applin, who had been sort of involved in that incident last time by, still picking up on a solid run so far. And Daniel Moore has kept himself remotely in the top 15 for practically the entire race. A little bit of a spill by Applin, sends it back. He carries the race car through and will stay green for now. There's Jurg and Maggio down the inside.
And the battle here is heating up for second. Jaden Porter's worked his way to the outside of Mikey Neal. He might get to the outside of AJ Green. There's contact.
And they'll nearly be 3 wide in the middle of the corner. Slight wiggle there from the 48 of Green, and he hangs on to it. What a job by the North Carolina native to move on through. Porter slices down the inside. He'll look at it for 3rd place. Again, all of this right behind Shuey, who's pulled away by nearly a full second to Mikey Neal. And Porter down the inside.
And here comes Moreno.
And all of these guys on 4 fresh tires, now starting to reap the benefits as Bauman falls through the cracks. He'll be right in between. Moreno on the outside, Schaefer right behind in traffic. As AJ Green makes the move and Jaden Porter makes the clear. He's still got a bit of ways to go until Mikey Neal comes up on his radar. And there goes Moreno down to the bottom.
And look how much they're stacked up behind AJ Green now. They're all getting packed up once again.
And Keelan, this is, again, the result of all of the tire calls that these drivers have made. AJ Green is going to start to feel that fall off in just several laps. And at some point, Mikey Neal and Alex Schumacher will have to come down pit road. Alex Schumacher has been on 112 laps of a green flag stint without coming down a single time. It's a little better for Mikey Neal as there's the slide from Jaden Porter. He'll catch the inside wall, back up the banking, he'll spill at lap 112, will stay green, and what a save by Jaden Porter.
Incredible save to not spin it around and bring out the caution flag.
Oh, crash, Eric Schaefer.
And Schaefer seems to be involved. Right as they were coming across, yellow flag comes out, and the second piece of trouble will catch the Hampton, Virginia native.
There was a lot of chaos going on at the same time. A huge break for Jaden Porter for the caution to eventually come out. Contact between Sparling and Schaefer gives us the yellow flag once again.
Boy, the tough breaks continue for Eric Schaefer. Remember, started this race up front, had problems moving through as he got involved on the lap 1 incident, and got all of that damage repair, which is basically the same bits of damage he has right now. And this car will be back on pit road with some more damage to bring in. And here's a look at how this all unfolded. This is the battle inside the top 10. It's Bauman, Schaefer, Blaine Snyder. Look at the travel through the apron. A bit of off-section excursion there for Schaefer. Tags Blaine Snyder up the corner to the back straightaway, and then just goes around for the slide. No one else ends up into him, but again, it's just been a rough night for many. Schaefer has been unlucky thus far. He has not escaped any of the scares tonight for Bristol. Here's a look.
He just got all those laps back in the early 40 laps of this race, and now pick that damage right back up off the bumper of Schaefer right there. Huge break for Jaden Porter in the 28, though, after that slide and tapping the wall. He could have been falling victim to being lapped sooner rather than later. This is going to allow the opportunity for Alexander Schumacher to come down pit road, and that's probably a good thing because he was getting near fuel exhaustion there. He probably could have made another handful of laps, but you do not want to make the pit stop under green here at Bristol when nobody else really has to for this time being, so he's going to have to turn over that track position, but he's going to have those fresh tires advantage a little bit deeper, but he is going to be pretty deep on the lead lap here, so the advantage is not as great as you'd think it'd be, but he will have that fresh tire advantage, and hopefully that pans out to something, because that 68 car is fast today.
And what a tenure as well, Francisco. Over 110 laps complete on one set of Goodyear Eagles. That's basically about halfway. Now he can just stay on these tires if he's willing to stay out, and with all that gain track position he had, all that clean air as well, he had been able to use it nicely, make a gap to Mikey Neal and the rest of the competition behind. And who's to say that he could be caught in those final few laps of a green flag run? I mean, we'll never find out, but it's just one of those things for Shuey where he made them last that long. He could very well do so again as he'll restart this race all the way back in 16th.
Trying something different, strategy front. He saw how Moreno was able to get out there and eventually make this comeback drive to now sit back on the front row again after being involved in some trouble. We'll see if Shu is able to replicate the same thing with a little bit of an advantage and see if that pays off for him in the second half of this race.
Well, it's Mikey Neal out in front, his teammate Ethan Fonseca Moreno to give chase on the outside of the front row. Green flag, lap 118 from Bristol Motor Speedway, and outskirts goes Mikey Neal looking to stay up in front. Moreno with a great run out of turn 2. He'll stick by from the outskirts of the outside lane. AJ Green fending back in third, and what a run by Moreno, looking for the lead in turn 1.
A great run, he was patient.
And on the outside, Moreno taking the lead for the first time all night long. He had been so used to being on the outside of the front row and not getting an inch on Lawson Peel, but now he'll be able to clear. Off of turn 2, Mikey Neal will force his nose back to the inside, and the battle continues off turn 4. And Keelan Belcher, what a drive this has become for Moreno. From the front to the back and back to the front. Moreno, new lead change with 104 laps to go.
With how fast he was in the early stages of this race, it felt like only a matter of time before that 92 would find himself into the race lead. And with Lawson Peel's troubles, it kind of opened up the floodgates as an opportunity for him to get up there, especially with Mikey Neal on the older tires. And now it's going to be really hard for anybody in this field to get around Moreno as he tries to get his fourth win.
Connor Trafari around.
Connor Trafari riding to the wall. Yellow flag comes out, and Trafari ends up sliding and perpendicular on the banking once more. It's been a night to forget for Connor Trafari.
And Charlie Byer, who picked him.
Oh, man.
I don't want to say it's karma for not getting a costume on for our pre-race show, but Connor Trafari, a fast race car to start, and it's been bad luck ever since the Lot 9 Brewing Company Chevrolet ends up in our latest caution, lap 124. Here's how it all unfolded. Right in front of the battle between Tyler Murray and Daniel Moore. That was starting to heat up. It was in front of Craig Lownslager, in which Trafari ended up sideways. And frankly, Keelan, it's the help right there that AMD Ryzen, Ford Mustang, Craig Lownslager, the Texas native, on the inside. And look at all those cars trying to get away from Trafari.
Everybody did a really good job staying off of him to not cause more damage to him or themselves. But yeah, he does get some help there from Lownslager in the 13. You saw the run that 13 had. We could have had an opportunity to try and make a move on Trafari. He was pretty fast in that 13 in comparison to him. He tries to get to the inside right there. Maybe a bit of iRacing registered contact there. I don't know how much they actually touched right there, but that is going to be what sends Trafari around, put some damage on his car as we close in right here as they cross the line. Going to be 100 laps to go as Ethan Fonseca Moreno has put himself in a race lead. And what a season it's been for him, Kenneth. We think back to the championship he won in Season 6 and Season 7, how much of a struggle it was before late in the season, rattled off a couple victories. He seems to be back in his groove. I feel like this new update has really kind of played into his deck of cards and what he likes to do in these race cars, and trying to get his 4th win of the season in the first 8 races. It has been a great start to his year.
Won a career-high 5 races in Season 6, which ended up, of course, with the championship. His last one at Homestead and Miami Speedway. Then came around for Season 7. Looked like it was going to be a poised-up championship defense. Had 2 wins in the back end of the season after missing a bulk of the midway portion in the campaign. But Moreno's back in full force, looking for his 4th win down to Charlie Byer.
And as Connor Trafari comes down pit road and falls a lap down to get that damage repaired, 33 cars started this race, 18 are on the lead lap, 7 have 0 iRacing incident points, and that makes up most of the top 5 actually, staying clean and being up there and being able to use their clean bumpers to get some fresh air and have some speed. So not a whole lot of updates down on the pit lane besides just some cars getting some damage repaired, and I'll keep you guys updated.
Thank you, Charlie. It's been a tough night for many. Connor Trafari definitely included in that laundry list. Lawson Peel, Eric Schaefer, the list goes on of drivers that have found some sort of trouble at the Last Great Coliseum. Again, the scares can go to anyone. Doesn't matter how tough of a driver you are. Green flag restart, and look at the jump from the outside lane, and rookie Blaine Snyder will take away the outside in second. Let's crank it up as Moreno holds on to the lead. Mikey Neal spins on the front straightaway for second place in the fight with Blaine Snyder. He saves the car. But as we were just about to come back from our Crank It Up segment, the intensity turned up, and Mikey Neal results in our most latest yellow flag at lap 137.
And just like that, we're back under the yellow flag. Luckily for Mikey, it wasn't too bad of an incident for him. He's just going to have to take that claim and go to the back of the field. That's one less 0X driver in this race. And during our Crank It Up segment, we had a moment there with Steven Maggio as well. So we're going to look at a couple of these incidents as we have a little bit of a break in the action. Here's the incident with Steven Maggio in turn one. Look how sideways he gets, able to get a little bit of a help off the wall, but for that we remain green before the trouble to Mikey Neal.
We'll try to get a replay on what happened to Mikey Neal to get him involved. That was the battle for second alongside, and they were just about making a move there, and it was really just a tough situation for Mikey Neal right as we were coming across the line. It was the battle with Blaine Snyder that was going on, the rookie in the 7 car who peeked from the outside. Neal had wiggled loose, and the exit of the corner had slipped across right about there, catches Snyder. It's been a tough night for Blaine Snyder, has been involved in now 2 accidents that has really had nothing to do with him. It was the slip from Mikey Neal, saves his car. For Snyder, it's a different situation, and we head down to Charlie Byer and pit road.
And Mikey Neal led them down to the pit road. Heavy right side damage. He'll go ahead and get that repaired, along with Nicholas Baumann. And then that's beautiful, I might add. That is my favorite cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch car. He will have to... Actually, he won't have to get any damage repaired. He's one of our 5 drivers with 0 iRacing incident points. So maybe preemptive fuel loading or new tires as we approach less than 100 laps to go in this race. And we're looking at about 19 lead lap cars to restart here.
Thank you, Charlie. Good info there from pit road. I'm assuming you're very busy down there with all the things that have happened, all the drivers that have been involved in accidents tonight, whether it be former champions of the series or newcomers alike. All of them have faced the same fate, it feels like. And that also includes the race leader. Moreno has had a fair share of troubles. Got that big-time nose damage at lap 81 on the restart. He was on fresh tires trying to carry his way through lap traffic and then picked up the damage from there, spent some time on pit road, and the 3-time winner this season is now back out in front with a race-high second-place run for Juan Escamilla in his sophomore tenure in his 4-wide career. And right behind, look at that lineup for third and fourth. Alex Schumacher, who went 113 laps-ish on his set of Goodyear Eagles. And how about it, guys? Lawson Peel, the Season 4 champion, is back in it, leading the most laps in the first sector of the race. Now with just about 84 laps to go, Keelan, he's got a shot at it once again.
Yeah, it's going to be a opportunity here as he has found himself in the 4th position after that trouble with Brandon Banks earlier. He's been faster, if not just as fast as Ethan Fonseca Moreno, so if he can get himself up there, he's going to be up there making it a challenge.
Back to green and through the restart zone, Moreno launches off nicely. Peel shuts off any momentum building down there for the inside and for second place. Schumacher will fight Escamilla back to turn 3. Largest lead we've seen for the race leader in just a little while. Moreno stretches out his legs by a little bit more. Schumacher planting his nose down low, still for second place.
Escamilla's trying to make that high side work. He tags the wall off of turn 2 now, but we've seen that high side just not have nearly as much grip. He's trying to hang on there as best as he can. It seems to work a little bit better in 3 and 4 than it does 1 and 2. He just drifts way too high, gets into the marbles, and look how much he has to check up now. Went way too high into the marbles.
And inside goes Peel. There's the block on Jaden Porter. Bold move to the inside. Chrome horn to the back end of the Dark Horse Racing Chevrolet of Escamilla. He'll still maintain top 5 territory as most of the top 10 have singled out. And Escamilla is trying to remove some of those skeletons in the closet. Remember, he called this shot before his first ever 4-wide race and then ended up on his lid at Daytona International Speedway. This time around in his sophomore season, it's been just a little bit better, has been flipless so far, but in a highly contested battle with Jaden Porter so far. It's been really fun to see these two go at it over the course of the season. And for Escamilla also to build as a driver. We looked at our rapid fire segment earlier on in our pre-race show, and his teammate Nicholas Baumann said his rivals just maybe his teammate. Baumann being one of them, with Escamilla being one of them on the road courses, and with all of the skills that they've had so far. Escamilla looking to bring that to fruition here as Eric Schaefer pounces on with AJ Green behind, killing this battle in the back half of the top 10.
Yeah, they're racing really hard down here, down into the corners. Eric Schaefer, he's been turned into fried shrimp in almost every incident tonight on the racetrack, but he is slowly finding himself continuously making up track position, even with the damage on that race car. So that 3 car just showing his skill at this racetrack as we see the race for the lead and how it stands right now. Alexander Schumacher has found himself getting up through this field, got on those fresh tires, and now it's a copy-paste story of what we saw last week at Kentucky, Kenneth, with it was a Moreno and Schumacher battle with Peel lurking in the background. We're seeing the same story tonight.
And just like Happy Gilmore, Schumacher wants to run it back on Ethan Fonseca Moreno. The gap at 0.5 of a second as Lawson Peel just carries on right behind in third. Again, a proper demonstration of what Lawson Peel can do in a long run. Cue up the Jaws music, and there he is. Peel can make a move whenever possible. He's kept Schumacher honest. So this battle for the lead potentially will continue, but as soon as they go door-to-door for second, Francisco, that will be that calling card for Moreno to step away and make his own stretch at it as inside now goes Lawson Peel for second.
Peel looks like he came from a bat out of hell, trying to move back up through the field after losing the track position with a moment a couple laps ago, and has done nicely to get back towards the front. But we'll see if he's able to take second. Doesn't look like he will, so Schumacher hangs on, and in the process, he actually gained 2/10 on your race leader, and Jaden Porter's joined the fight as well. And for Shuey, Kenneth, who, when we talked to him last week after the race, he felt Kentucky was one of his best chances this season to compete for the race win, but tonight has clearly been a work in progress for him. He's worked his way, and now he has the track position to compete over the next 70 or so laps, and he's properly going to be in this fight for the race win with his teammates in this battle. And what a win it would be for Shuey if he's able to pull it off at the last gate Coliseum.
2 large emotions from Lawson Peel when we talked to him after his second place finish last week in Kentucky. The first one was kind of somber. Although he had finished well, it still felt bitter in the sense that he's had such a rough beginning to season 8. It hasn't been the easy stroll through the pumpkin patch that Peel has been hoping for, at least in terms of the return to the next-gen era after season 7, where he won several races and made it to the championship 5. But also the second emotion he had there was relief. After so many of these races in which it's tested his patience, it's tested his skill, he finally was able to break free of the bad luck for just a little while and ended up with his best finish of 2025. Now under fire from Jaden Porter, Season 5 champion. Those two have scrappled at it before, and it will let Schumacher pull away by just a couple tenths of a second in P2, running behind Moreno to pit road and to Charlie Byer.
And guys, just passing 67 laps to go in the race. We're seeing some spicy battles throughout the field, but as we start to settle in, the way that this lead lap battle is starting to shape up, Dusty Applin is the first car a lap down. He is in the lucky dog position under the next flag, and AJ Green is the first car, or at least the last car on the lead lap, so he's trying to protect that position. But other than that, 18 cars on the lead lap, only one car 1 lap down. The next car is 2 laps down, and the next is more than 5 laps down on back. That is from 21st position. So things are trying to settle in here, and maybe we can see one more pit stop before we end this race.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Well, from the pit road sequences that we've seen out of Alexander Schumacher, I think he can probably try and take this all the way to the end, Francisco, don't you think?
It looks like everybody can, really, Kenneth, because I think everybody, when they pitted, even if it went green, they were able to get to the end of the race on fuel. So Schumacher just tried to offset himself. Probably didn't realize that just how many were actually going to pit whenever he did, and tried to change up the strategy. And from where he runs now, as Porter goes to his inside, attempting to go for the 3rd spot, he's just hoping that something is able to fall his way over the next 60 laps to have this race go his way.
And how about this rematch up at the front? Lawson Peel and Ethan Fonseca Moreno. The last time we saw these two nose to tail in this exact running order was in those final few laps of Season 6's race here, in which Moreno dealt with a touch or two from the back end as the 12 car tried to move Moreno out of the way. They were all unsuccessful, and the Season 6 champion, who was not a champion yet, had been able to crown himself a winner at the last great Coliseum, and the loose moment for Peel will send him directly into the inside wall. The yellow flag will stay inside the pocket of Barney the Flagman, and from second place, Lawson Peel's luck runs out 166 laps in.
It's deja vu. It's the same thing that happened to him earlier in the race, Kenneth.
And you have to feel for the Columbus, Mississippi native just gaining steam on Moreno, and it's just this slip up here, gas in too early at the exit of 4, and around he goes.
It's something that we have seen all night long, so common to just overstep just a little bit when you're trying to get a taste for that race lead right there. But now that's going to turn second place over to Jaden Porter in a 28, who's saying, please, please, please let me get to Ethan's back bumper, maybe move him out of the way. He's talked about how bad he wants to win at Bristol in the past. He's got a teammate in front of him that he's in pretty good graces with, so he's going to try to make a move under Ethan here as they get closer and closer to the end of this race. These two teammates, they are not going to take it easy on each other, though.
And this being a rematch of the fight that we saw early on from Kentucky, the home track for Jaden Porter last Wednesday night. Porter unsuccessful over the long run. That's where Moreno stepped down in front and became the biggest stepper of them all en route to his 3rd race victory of the season. And we mentioned the banter, Francisco, between these two drivers. Porter said in that rapid fire segment, his rival was Ethan. They're two good friends, two good teammates on track. But, you know, Moreno likes to run his mouth every now and then, especially when he wins and can say that he beat Jaden Porter on the racetrack. Porter wants to silence his rival this time and for all from Bristol and put himself right in front of Eric Schaefer, 5th on the all-time wins list, if he can make this pass complete as lap traffic starts to file itself into this race. AJ Green being the first one.
And you remember Jaden Porter and Ethan Fonseca Moreno in last season's race, on the longest run of the night, they were finally proving to be faster than Kyle Tursak, but unfortunately a late caution is what took them out of that chance to win. Tursak kept the track position after pit stops, and well, he was just able to manage the restarts from there. As here comes now Porter to the back bumper of his teammate to the inside with AJ Green just ahead.
Look at that move down the bottom. AJ Green will play a bit of a spoiler as the lap traffic car in front of the race leader. Porter backs out in the fight for the lead, but a chance to reignite himself back on the inside. Eric Schaefer looking for 4th on Nicholas Bauman, and he's got it as the chase continues for the Louisville, Kentucky native.
Porter all over his back bumper, and we can kind of see this dirty air play just a bit of a factor where a track you don't think aerodynamically it's that much of a challenge. It is here tonight at Bristol in these new next gens as Jaden Porter trying to be the sharpest tool in the shed at BBR tonight and make a run to the outside, to the inside of Ethan, wherever he can get it. But this lap traffic is playing a factor right now.
And it's definitely a shot in the dark as Curtis Kelly lets the top 2 leaders by, and this is going to be huge. A yellow flag comes out at 178 laps complete, and after what has been a clean race for the league owner, the chicken has cracked the egg. Tyler Murray goes around for the spill.
It's no coincidence, Kenneth, that everybody has been in trouble tonight on the racetrack. There's only a handful of guys that have maintained a 0X, and that is just Bristol for you. Tyler Murray was one of those guys who had been keeping his car as clean as he possibly could all night long. Here he is with Stephen Maggio to his inside, and maybe a bit of air contact there. Looks like he had it saved, and then on the backstretch just lost it out from under him like he had damage in the suspension or something, but that is going to take the 36 out of contention for a good finish unless he gets some fresh tires here. He has enough laps to where maybe it won't affect him too bad, but that is going to send him all the way down to 18th as our leaders are hitting pit road, and we'll see what they do. Down to you, Charlie, on pit road.
Nathan Fonseca Moreno will come down pit road and potentially get a fresh set of tires here as the jacks lift up, excuse me. That'll leave Alexander Schumacher potentially taking back over to the race lead. So it's Alex Schumacher in a spot where he was before, and he's certainly comfortable with that, as well as Jaden Porter drops the jacks. He comes down out as well. He's one of the 4 drivers, including Shuey, who has 0 incident points in this race. So guys, we're down to 4.
And he's the race leader off of pit road on a 9.6 second stop. Jaden Porter elects 2 fresh tires in the winning stages of this race, hoping that it could give him the upper edge on his fellow teammate and rival. And look who's staying out again. It's Alex Schumacher. Man, what a race this is turning out to be tonight from Bristol. So as we reset the running order, Alex Schumacher is the race leader. Nicholas Baumann, who has taken his fair share of risks on pit road. Last time by was a 4-tire call, so it was a bit more safe than some of his previous calls. 14.5, he'll be second. Connor Trafari, and everything that he's had to deal with tonight, he's been able to recover despite the rear end damage. He'll be third. And then, of course, that's where the drivers off of pit road start to make their way into the lineup. Jaden Porter on the 2 tires, Moreno and the rest of the field on 4. Craig Lounslager has moved his way up into P6, but I don't believe his call was by design. He did not come down his pit box, so it seemed like it was a pit lane trip. It wasn't a pit box decision. So for Lounslager, he's going to have to hope that his old tires, they're going to hold on for the rest of this race with 43 laps to go. Schumacher facing his first career 4-wide victory. Nicholas Baumann trying to make himself a spoiler. In the mix of it all, Jaden Porter and Connor Trafari trying to work their way in from 3rd and 4th on the inside and outside of row number 2. What can happen next? Here from the Last Great Coliseum, we have seen it all. And through the Echo Park Automotive restart zone, it's a clean jump from Schumacher. Smooth as a bullet through the air, right to the inside. Porter takes second, and Baumann shows up for 3rd.
And we'll see now what Porter's able to do. He has the tires under him. They're 2 tires at that. But we'll see how much of an advantage is it for him as the caution flag waves immediately. Trouble for Michael Newbrough once again in this race as he sits turned around in turn 3. As a big restart for Jaden Porter, he gets a lot of his track position back. He sits in the runner-up spot to Alexander Schumacher. Does a great job on this restart. As here's a look to see how he ended up under the yellow flag once again. As you see Newbrough racing with Blaine Snyder, and I think right there, yeah, just some slight contact with the 7 sends him spinning. Luckily, he misses the inside wall, and luckily doesn't hit anybody else, and nobody hits him.
Good avoidance by a lot of those drivers on the outside trying to make a move. One of those drivers was Lawson Peel. Remember, had spun from 2nd place in the grouping. Stephen Maggio on the inside, and as everyone tried to get around from Michael Newbrough, it's kind of like, I forgot you existed to the outside wall. You want to take up as much space as you can. Good job by Peel to slow down the race car. Had enough time to get around his Drinkin' Bros Racing teammate, but Peel is back on pit road looking for a chance to repair what's left of his Exalta Chevrolet. What was an end to a cruel summer for Lawson after what was an exit early from a Championship 5 contention moment after being involved in a restart issue with Jaden Porter and involving Chris Fowler. it's been really hard for Peel to get back into championship winning form, especially through this longer offseason as we've kicked off Season 8. But it's now KBueno Racing holding the top 2 spots, Keelan. Remember we mentioned that 6th consecutive race streak that BBR has been on since the exit of Daytona? Now they've got a chance to make it 7 straight victories for the team. And most importantly, if Schumacher can get it, make it a brand new winner added to the BBR column.
That's exactly what Schumacher is going to try to do tonight, but he's got teammate Jaden Porter who wants to win just as bad as he does. So remember what Shuey said last week after Kentucky, the mistake he made late was the tire strategy and where it caught him off guard. He's trying to learn just as much as anybody else in this field, and the more he runs up front, the better he gets. We've seen it in the KBRN Truck Series. He's always found a way to find speed there, and in 4 wide this season has really been turning it up another notch. He sits 3rd in points coming into today, 43 back of the points leader. Has an opportunity to make up a chunk of that, at least on Jonathan Juergensmeyer in a 2-car who's a little bit mired in traffic right now. So what would it mean to him to get that first career win tonight? As you see the Halloween outfits here on this restart. Happy Gilmore versus Where's Waldo?
What does this remind you of? Nashville Super Speedway when these two were on this very front row in the winning stages of the race, and it's deja vu all over again. Green flag, Schumacher's got the edge to turn 1. Porter will hold back on his fire. Nicholas Baumann is trying to charge in and crunch them both at the exit of turn 2.
And there you see Schumacher immediately goes to the defense of the bottom. Porter's going to try to make it work up top. They nearly make contact off of 4.
They touch entering turn 1, and Porter's got his nose up high. An all-time lover of these concrete tracks trying to check off another one. Porter to the race lead.
He stuck his nose in there on the outside and made it work. That is the aggression that you have to have in these closing laps of this race. And now Jaden Porter, what he's got to do, he's got to look out his windshield, run away, and hide. Alex Schumacher is going to work as a bit of a pick on these guys with these fresher tires out behind him, and Trafari and Baumann as they continue to battle it out. You see Moreno back there in the 92 trying to make up that ground, but if this race goes green, Jaden Porter is in great shape right now. His goal has got to be run away, hide, get around lap traffic the best you can.
And spinner AJ Green in the background. Yellow flag will come out as soon as Green made the spill, and the race that had turned well for him, seemingly like it, is turned around in the other direction. Dusty Applin facing the inside wall as well down the straightaway. And there's all that damage to AJ Green's car. Just a look at the replay. There's a Can-Am Chevrolet in the background. And the UNC Charlotte 48 trailing right behind Eric Schaefer. And I don't know, Francisco, whether there was contact. No, just sent spinning at the exit of turn 4. Dusty Applin, Mikey Neal, nowhere for them to go. Michael Newbraw ends up catching Trevor Haley. So this is a multi-threaded incident all the way down to the corner in turn 1.
So we'll get the replay here to see exactly what happened here. There's Green, almost gets into the back of Schaefer, but in the process of checking up, Dusty Applin gets into his rear, and they go spinning across the front straightaway. Numerous other cars getting a piece of it, others avoiding it nicely.
And Trevor Haley hasn't found the string of luck, and he tags Mikey Neal late as he travels down the apron. There's Trevor Haley down pit road. The Indiana native has faced lots of troublesome moments here in his 3rd 4-wide season. Making his debut in the early portions of Season 6, made a playoff run, and then tried to back it up in his sophomore campaign. Saw his teammate Nicholas Baumann make the playoffs and go pretty far for a rookie. And there's Dusty Applin, who made several starts last season, and so far has not cracked the top 10 effort in 2025. So to bring us a green flag restart, just on the outskirts of 25 laps to go, and that may have been the move of the race, Keelan Belsha, for Porter to make himself the man off the restart. Pointed his nose on the outside space that was left in between the right side of Schumacher's Chevrolet and then the outside wall, but Porter was able to make it stick, carry through on the fresh Goodyear Eagles, and on the 2-tire call, Porter is able to settle in that buffer between himself and former contender Ethan Fonseca Moreno This is crunch time, though, for Porter if he wants to snag his second victory of the season.
The best race car drivers are going to put their cars in holes that are not meant for cars to be in, and that is what Jaden Porter did right there, sticking his nose to the outside of Schumacher, because have easily wrecked them both, but it was great awareness by both of them right there to know the situation they were in as Jaden Porter clicking off his first lap sled of the day. Remember, avoid the chaos. We mentioned that earlier today. The last 3 remaining guys with a 0X, Jaden Porter, Alexander Schumacher, Nicholas Baumann, 2 of those guys on the front row here, so maybe people should listen to the keys a little more often because it looks like it's working out pretty good for the top 2.
And if you can shoot the fine margins like the Archer, like Jaden Porter did off the final restart there, it could be big-time dividends paid off. Porter will have the outside for this green flag restart. It's Schumacher on the inside. Juan Escamilla and Ethan Fonseca Moreno will keep the keen eye as the green flag waves again. Escamilla gets left in the dust. Porter surges out ahead. Schumacher and Moreno will single out for second and third.
And Moreno into third. We'll see what he's able to do. Maybe tries to lit up the outside on his teammates on this KBueno Racing top 3 effort. As you see, Schumacher runs the middle and allows Ethan to just turn down, go to the left side. Easily gets around Schumacher, who may have tagged the outside wall.
And now he's got to hold the wall up in front of Daniel Moore and Escamilla. How about Daniel Moore stepping in for what could be his all-time best 4-wide career finish? And now it's back on between Moreno and Porter for the race victory. Inside 25 to go next time.
These are 2 guys that know each other very well as teammates, and they know how the other races and how they're thinking in this moment. Probably dead silence in that voice call right now, trying not to tip the other off at all as they're coming around to 25 laps to go. It's defense mode for Jaden Porter, offense mode for Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Both these guys hovering around each other in the all-times win list. They're always poking at each other as the caution comes out again, and we are going to reset. These guys are going to be right on top of each other at least one more time.
And it's Nicholas Baumann that may have been involved in this latest accident to bring out the yellow flag. Inside 25 laps to go. And what was a good call from the Pennsylvania native of Baumann to step into the top 5. He really let the field through on that last restart, and tons of damage to his Cinnamon Toast Crunch Kroger Chevrolet, as he'll ring in Michael Walls as well down pit road at lap 202. So he was leading a group of cars in front, and there had been some sort of cha-cha slides in the front of Baumann here, Francisco, because many a car were in this sector of the field. Mounslogger and Moore making the battle. Schumacher wiggles loose in front of Baumann, and there's nowhere to go for the 88 car.
Schumacher does a great job of hanging on to it, but unfortunately Nicholas Baumann didn't have anywhere to take the car. Here's the onboard look from it. You see there's the battle up ahead, which is the battle for third. And all of a sudden, Schumacher gets loose and just nowhere to go, doesn't really lift, and unfortunately gets a big piece of damage to his front end and to the rear end of that 68.
You'd almost imagine that there was contact off the exit of the corner between Escamilla and Schumacher, but there wasn't. They had almost tapped fenders at the exit of the straightaway, but right about there was Schumacher just wiggling loose and did a great job to save it. But obviously now the right rear damage will ail the 68 car. He'll take a trip down pit road and he will give up track position inside the top 10. So what is easily turned into a night to forget for the Michigan native of Alex Schumacher, as Jaden Porter will hold on to the lead, maintain the gap of about 0.3 of a second to his teammate Moreno right behind. And that leaves us now with only one driver with a 0x tonight that could gain that extra bonus point, Charlie, and it's the man leading the race.
How about that? I was keeping track of this whole race, not assuming that it would whittle down to such little drivers left with a 0x, but how about that? Jaden Porter, first on the racetrack, the only one with a 0x. Granted, the cars behind him have gotten their damages repaired, especially Ethan Fonseca Moreno, who got his nose punched in earlier in this race. He was able to get all that damage repaired. Almost looks like a brand new race car. So a 0x does not mean he is the fastest car or the fastest driver, because a lot of these drivers look... looking at their cars, they look pretty new and repaired. So, but it is a fun little tidbit for this race, and he would be the only one getting the bonus points.
Thank you, Charlie. Jaden Porter trying to maximize a decent point stay right now in the race lead, with Moreno on the outside. Still a long way to go. 20 laps to go when we come across to the start-finish line. And in row 2, how about the surprise? Juan Escamilla looking for what would be his best finish of the season. Daniel Moore in search of his all-time best 4-wide finish. If he can snag a top 5 and steal it in these final few laps. What can Moreno do to beat this Mountain Dew Chevrolet? It looks like not much. In turn 1, he'll stay within a car length of Porter in the first 2 corners as Daniel Moore strikes up top, looking for third on Escamilla. And here comes Moreno for the lead.
Moreno to the inside has the better track position. Can the 4 tires beat the 2 tires? Porter might have to still leave him the gap. He does. He drifts up a little bit. They're continuing to go side by side for the top spot. Under 20 laps to go.
18 to go. When we cross the start-finish line next, Moreno noses ahead. He should be able to lead the lap, and he does. Back to turn 1. The battle remains side by side. Moreno stretches out in front. New race leader, Ethan Fonseca Moreno, snags it above his teammate in turn 3. And the yellow flag out again. Trouble behind. Blaine Snyder, Brandon Banks, Craig Lounslager involved.
And just like that, we're back under the yellow flag with some trouble. And it happened just enough time for the Burrito to end up back in the lead.
And this was the fight inside the top 5. Brandon Banks, Craig Lounslager at paulscars.com Chevrolet, the bright yellow Ryzen Radeon number 13 of Craig Lounslager. And just a simple mistake of Brandon Banks wiggling loose at the exit of the corner. Here's another look down the straightaway. And Gil, it's so hard to collect these cars, especially here at Bristol. So much momentum. And a lot of the tire spin from the rear tires. And for Brandon Banks, there was nothing he could do. Lounslager was just a casualty to the circumstance. And then in comes Christopher Bishop trying to slow down. Ends up moving on through, but a hard pill to swallow for Lounslager and Banks, who were looking to come away with decent points tonight.
Yeah, it's just so easy to overstep, light the rear tires up, and spin yourself out, similar to that incident right there. How about Eric Schaefer in his 5th position, by the way? He has been in every incident you could possibly dream of today, and the 2-time Bristol winner has found himself in his top 5. Daniel Moore sitting in 4th, Juan Escamilla in 3rd. These guys have taken advantage of the chaos and climbed themselves through the field. That radiator looks like it's punched in on the 3 car. It don't matter. He's up here in the 5th position, finding speed after starting up here earlier in the race, involved in an incident before they even got to the start-finish line. Went 3 laps down, got himself on the lead lap by lap 40, and pretty much immediately after that was turned by Blaine Snyder on the front stretch. But his short track prowess has been showing through tonight as he finds himself up in 5th. A lot of good runs to mention up here in the top 5, though. How about Daniel Moore looking for possibly a best career finish in 4 wide, sitting in 4th right now. Having a great run for himself. Started in the 11th position. Has been up as high as the podium step of 3rd at 77. Juan Escamilla in 3rd. He's also been facing the wrong way a couple times today. And if something happens with these top 2, they mess each other up, the door is wide open for any of these guys.
And Escamilla also in contention to get his best 4-wide finish of season 8 and match it if he's able to get 4th as he finished there at Richmond Raceway. And not surprising to see Schaefer back in it. He was in contention to win at Richmond Raceway earlier on this season, but it took one last lap crash with Kyle Benson to take him out of contention. He's still within range in the top 5 as we get ready for this crucial restart. Can it be on the money for Ethan Fonseca Moreno to pull away with 13 laps to go? He's got the early jump. He's got the lead to turn 1.
Porter had a decent launch, but just doesn't have enough of the grip to really get to the outside. He's going to try to do the very best he can, but Moreno with the 4 tires compared to his 2 is just going to be able to power on through and carry on very nicely. Daniel Moore is going to sit back in the 4th spot, unable to really challenge Escamilla for the time being, single filed through most of the top 10 first side-by-side battle. Is Jurgensmeyer up in 7th, and around goes the 6th, the 48, and 68.
AJ Green being a part of that. Yellow flag out again, and Alexander Schumacher's night has turned around in the poor way. There's Blaine Snyder around for the spill. Schumacher with more damage. And with 11 laps to go, we'll stay under the mercy of the iRacing official pace car as the rookie Blaine Snyder picks up more damage on this most recent crash. And And there were several instances to this incident. There's the snap-on Chevrolet of Snyder in the back end of this large pack of cars, and it starts where AJ Green is. Right on his tail is Schumacher, and then it just boils over right there.
Looked like he tried to go for that gap that almost opened up between himself and AJ Green, but unfortunately for Schumacher, it just wasn't really there, and ends up spinning both the 48 and himself.
Trying to make the space work in the middle, 3 wide, and Michael Newbraw getting caught up, then a tap from Blaine Snyder, then a hit from Dusty Applin, and that was basically the second half of the incident as Curtis Kelly piled in. And it's been such a rough night for a lot of these guys. For Schumacher, and imagine the frustrations are building up here. The Shoe Sanity run could very well come to an end tonight from the last great Coliseum. And with under 10 to go, I don't know if that was a good or bad moment for Jaden Porter there, Keelan. Do you think that he'd want this race to go green to give him a shot, or would he want all of these green flag restarts to maybe catch Moreno off guard?
He was keeping pace with Moreno before that yellow came out, but I just feel like the grip advantage that Moreno's going to have on the 4 tires compared to Jaden's 2, his best shot's going to be getting a good restart and staying on his outside all the way off of the second corner, and hoping Moreno has a little slip up. It's gonna be hard to beat him once they get single filed out without bumping him out of the way. So if Jaden wants to be aggressive, move him, he can. But I don't know. I think these restarts are going to be his best opportunity.
I think Porter just wants a shot at the quarter panel of Moreno at the exit of turn 2. Maybe give him a little shimmy down the lane, move him up the racetrack, and give himself a shot at the victory. They remain close right at the exit of that restart. The only problem is we ran 2 to 3 laps, and then the caution immediately came out. And once more, Moreno will choose the inside. It's paid off well for the San Jose Californian and for his teammate on the outside looking for his second victory of the year. It'll take a Herculean effort as he'll man the outside of row 1. It has been such a poor place to be. Moreno has experienced that for the most part tonight, especially in the early goings against Lawson Peel. Now he's dealing his teammate the exact same fate. And the Burrito Chevrolet looking to achieve victory for the 4th time this season, the most since his championship campaign back in Season 6. Escamilla, the Dark Horse Racing Chevrolet, Daniel Moore, the Ford Mustang on the outside of the second row, waiting to pounce if any of these two get a mistake. There's a jump on the restart. Porter matches even with Moreno to turn 1.
And there was a huge stack up behind everybody. They were all trying to guess the restart. Moreno, though, was waiting until the second line to go, and that really messed up the second half of the grid, but it worked out for him. He's going to have the lead with 6 laps to go. Jaden Porter's on his bumper.
Largest negative was for Connor Trafari, who's now mired back in traffic as Jonathan Jurgensmeyer tries to attempt to pass. And this is the battle for the victory. 5 laps to go from Bristol. Moreno out in front by a car length.
As we saw Porter there going about a half lane higher and kind of cutting down, trying to get all that speed down the straightaway to be there on corner entry. Now, as he starts going into the corner, he's going a little bit deeper, trying to maybe get a little bit closer to his bumper, push him up with the air or the nose, whichever gets there first. But right now, it's looking like Moreno's in a good spot right now. Porter's not out of it, but he's going to need something to develop as far as get closer to that back bumper.
Porter last time by just a hair slower, and chasing him down is Juan Escamilla. The time is starting to run out. If we don't get another yellow flag, Moreno will see a pair of laps to go, and there's the yellow. We'll head into overtime for 4 wide. And who's involved in the latest spill?
Looks like possibly the 68 of Alexander Schumacher in trouble. Was, as he now sits 2 laps down in 18th. He was on the lead lap, just gets loose on its own and overcorrects it into the outside wall. What an unfortunate turn of events here in the final 20 laps for the 68 Shoei Sportsbook Chevrolet.
The night has fallen. The fall from grace for the Michigan native of Schumacher goes around. And we'll get another look at the replay and see how Schumacher ended up on ill fates. He was running in the middle of traffic. Again, nobody really around him. Craig Parks in front. Christopher Bishop right behind. Just a simple case of getting that car sideways and a hard hit to the wall. Hellacious contact as he overcorrected his Chevrolet. And the night could very well be over for Schumacher as he visits pit road. I'd imagine suspension damage on his Shoei Sportsbook car. And after a streak of top 10s that started from his first start this year, it's going to come to a close. It's going to be his worst finish of the season, and he will not have a chance to win tonight. So we'll end up in 4 wide overtime for the first time from Bristol, and it gives a breath of life to Jaden Porter, who was sort of falling through the cracks. Escamilla nearly made a move for second. Moreno had seemed to be in his flow right before that yellow came out. And it'll be a 2-lap dash to try and bring this one to a close. Francisco Moreno has been so good ever since the Next Gen update. Hot start to his SAC Cup Series campaign. 4 race victories there. Made it to a chance at a championship in the final event. Couldn't grab it there. And he said in those moments that he was going through a fall down period in SAC while going through an upward swing period here in 4 wide. And that seems to ring very true. 3 race victories, a chance to go back to back and get just a little bit closer to Brandon Hawken on the all-time wins list.
And before he can get to Brandon Hawken, he has to get to the likes of Lawson Pugh and Colin Forster, to which I believe he would break the tie for third with Colin Forster with the win here tonight to have number 11. And Ethan Fonseca trying to be the fastest driver to have 4 wins on the season through 8 races. It would be absolutely impressive stuff by the driver of the 92. We'll go to Charlie Barr before this overtime restart.
And your final pit road update for the night, and I'm using that loosely, is Alexander Schumacher had a very strong day, got out to the race lead, led a bunch of laps tonight. He is 3 laps down in 18th place, and his Bristol night race will be over with that last incident.
Thank you, Charlie. Overtime restart number 1. A pair of laps to go. If we get to the white flag without a yellow, we will end this race no matter what. Green flag from the last great Coliseum, and it's an all-out duel between the teammates. Moreno stretches out in front. He's got the lead to the back straightaway.
That was a great launch there by the 28. Did a good job of trying to keep up as best as he can. They're trying to fight hard for positions. No wrecks, though. We'll get to the white flag. 2 car lengths separate your leaders.
Daniel Moore went around for the slide, but no yellow flag. And as Porter tries one more time to catch Moreno, it will be no dice, and Moreno checks off his 2nd consecutive victory and 2nd at Bristol.
And that will break the tie with Colin Forster as Moreno moves solely into 3rd all-time in the wins list. Capture win number 11 of his career, puts him 2 behind Hawken, and nearly to the halfway point of Lawson Peel. Incredible stuff.
And a heartbreaking situation for Daniel Moore. Keelan spun around at the white flag lap.
Yeah, he had a great run going, so that's unfortunately his race result will not reflect the speed he had in these closing laps, but that's going to be the 4th win in the opening 8 races for Ethan, so he has been on an unprecedented tear, winning half of the start so far this season, extending that points lead. He had to work for this one, I feel like, a little bit more than some of the others possibly. He really had to fight his teammate Jaden Porter. The tire advantage is just going to be enough to put him in Paul's setup shop victory lane tonight. And the Burrito machine. Great win for Ethan. He led the most laps today, but he really had to work for this one.
It's the fastest that Moreno has ever achieved 2 or more victories in a season. He's won at least more than 1 in all 3 of his competing 4-wide campaigns, and this one is shaping up to be another championship pursuit. As Ethan Fonseca Moreno will try to find Bristol victory lane, wherever it may be waiting for him. There it is, the ramp, and it's all on this Burrito Chevrolet to make the move and head up as Moreno snags victory for the 4th time in Season 8 and wins his 2nd consecutive race, making it 7 straight races in which KBueno Racing has achieved victory lane. Nobody can stop BBR. No one can stop Ethan Fonseca Moreno.
And he parks it in victory lane, which is a feature that was added on the last update of Bristol. I don't think those people appreciate a car kind of going through inside them, but he will celebrate in... He's doing burnouts in the Bristol victory lane.
Have you ever seen
pedestrians. Pedestrians got to watch out.
Do they see this? I don't know.
I have no
idea. They seem to be phasing through the Chipotle 92.
I don't think they mind, though. They're watching Moreno celebrate in style. His 4th victory of the season comes here from Bristol and marks it his 2nd victory in his four-wide career at this last great Coliseum. Let's get a final look at the unofficial results before we get a word with our top 3 finishers after tonight's race. From Bristol, Moreno snagged victory again. It has been an all-time season for the San Jose, California native. He wins tonight. Jaden Porter, the teammate, ends up in second. And after winning at Nashville Superspeedway earlier on this season, it's another failed attempt at checking off another concrete track to win, but he ends up P2 regardless. Juan Escamilla ends up with his best finish of the season, 3rd place for the Dark Horse Racing Chevrolet. So props on Escamilla for doing that. Eric Schaefer rebounds after it was a back-and-forth evening to end up in 4th. Lane Snyder as well kept his foot in it. Rookie ends up in top 5. Dusty Applin in 6th place. Connor Trafari ends up with 7th place. Charlie's pick from pit road, everything that went down for Trafari turned out to be right in his favor at the end, with Lawson Peel recovering for a top 10 in 8th, his 3rd of the season. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer for 9th, and Daniel Moore, despite spilling over on the white flag lap, went from top 5 to a top 10, but still a great career finish for Daniel Moore.
AJ Green will finish in the 11th spot after he had a top 5 run going in the halfway point of this race. Michael Newbrough had several incidents involved in tonight. He'll finish in 12th. Curtis Kelly recovers in 13th, and I think Kelly will look forward to the end of this race as the Blue Jays are up 6-1 at the top of the 9th. Craig Lautenslager finished 14th. Brandon Banks in the 15th spot. Stephen Maggio was never really able to properly recover after that incident to start tonight's race from the pole. Tyler Murray will finish in 17th. First car 2 laps down in this race. Craig Parks finishes in 18th. Shuey will round out in the 19th spot, and Trevor Haley, the last car in the top 20, 8 laps down. Keelan.
Back in the 21st position, it's going to be Michael Walls in the 60 car. Nicholas Bauman finishes in 22nd. Mikey Neal, 23rd. Christopher Bishop in 24th. J.J. Hill finishes in 25th. Randy Showers, 26th. 27th for Chris Fowler. Brandon Gillis, 28th. C.J. Munier, 29th. 30th for Amir Bascom. All those guys pretty much involved in incidents as this race went on today.
And behind them, 31st and 32nd goes to Kyle Benson and Jesse Prees. Rookie Jared Wilson, 33rd. And Kyle Tursak didn't really make the start of this race, trying to defend his Bristol Motor Speedway win. Could not do so, did not make the starting grid, and thus the green flag. Well, let's head to Paul's Setup Shop Victory Lane, where it was a burnout celebration through a crowd of people. Ethan Fonseca Moreno ends up winning once again here from Bristol, his 4th of the season and 2nd in a row, and 2nd here at this last great Coliseum. Ethan, what are the emotions after this win? A back-and-forth evening where you started up front, saw the chaos unfold from the first row on the opening lap, and after picking up damage a couple times, getting beat on some pit calls a couple times as well, you rebound in a relentless fashion, and you become that poltergeist that just sticks around. You win this race from Bristol. What are your thoughts?
It's just the race was, like you said, it was kind of up and down, but it was just looking to keep it clean this race and come away with a solid finish. I mean, I kind of had felt like that I had lost it when Jaden got the lead, and he kind of had his way whenever we pitted and he got in front. So, I did whatever I could to get I feel like one of the best restarts I've had, to get to his inside and get the grip somehow on the bottom and make it work. So. He made it difficult. He didn't make it easy at all. So it's good race to him, and able to come up with the BBR 1-2. So that's nice.
This streak continues for not only the team but for yourself. Fastest way to get to 4 victories in your 4-wide career. You've won many a race already, 11 total over your 4-wide tenure, and it just continues to get better and better for you. What seems to have been working over the last few weeks, whether it be track selection, the mindset that you're carrying going in, or any other outside factor that's helping you stay locked in and stay in your winning ways?
I think I've just been very lucky, honestly. I haven't done any practice or anything during the week, or when I'm not doing any league races. So it's just this league and another one that I do during the week. So I feel like just been very lucky, very fortunate to not get involved in incidents and kind of have things go my way, and also kind of getting back into my groove again after last season. So everything's kind of starting to come back to me. So just glad to carry that, and just gonna keep looking forward to hopefully some more wins.
You've come back with a vengeance, and the vengeance is go after as many wins as possible. You've picked up several wins already this season, and the fire continues to go in your favor. Ethan, congratulations on the victory here from the Bristol Motor Speedway. You're second. I'm sure this one felt maybe a little less pressure-filled, although you had a duel with Lawson Peel last time. It was a duel with Jaden Porter this time around. Who do you got to thank and shout out for tonight's run?
I just want to shout out to Jaden again. I beat him, so I beat him on track. I'm gonna hold that over his head later on. What's it called? You guys for putting on the broadcast. Shout out to you guys. Also the burrito machine. Unfortunately, only get to run this once. But it's a very nice paint scheme. Cosman made it, so shout out to him as well.
Might be the best treat you have this week, couple days before Halloween comes up. Ethan, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on the win here from Bristol. We'll see you in the field at Pocono next week.
Yes, sir.
Ethan Fonseca Moreno leads 84 of the 229 laps, and after an attempt in overtime, Moreno squeezes out ahead of his teammate Jaden Porter and ends up with the victory. Speaking of Jaden Porter, he finishes runner-up tonight from Bristol. He's caught up with Francisco Bacallao.
Well, Jaden, it was another classic between yourself and Ethan Fonseca, and this time it's you that comes up in the runner-up spot at Bristol. Back-to-back top 3 efforts here. What more did you think you needed to be able to come out ahead of the 92?
Not throw away the restart I had control of. The whole time we were pacing, I'm like, I'm gonna pick the top because it's gonna be hard for him to time on the bottom. And even if he times it decent, I'll have a run off turn 2. And last pace lap, I decided for whatever reason to pick the bottom. And I didn't time it good. And when you don't time it good in the bottom, the guy that's top's gonna have a chance. And if he gets a good run out of turn 2, and I did not have a good exit of turn 2, and after that it was kind of over because after the first corner, maybe or first lap, that middle lane it just wasn't good at all. And me being on 2 tires and then being on 4 once he got clean air, it was just I couldn't really do much. I was too tight. So just poor management on the restart that I had control of. I should have picked the top. My gut was telling me to pick the top, and I picked the bottom. So just kind of upset with myself doing that. Feel like I just threw another Bristol race away, but it was good racing with Ethan and good P2, I guess.
This P2, Jaden, will put you now 4th in the overall standings for the season so far. So consistency has been there for you this season once again. When you look at the greater scope of the schedule, now that you have that win and the points are starting to work their way out, are you trying to see if you can mount a charge for that regular season championship? We know Ethan has really built up a gap at this point in the season, but do you think you can mount a kind of challenge to try and take those playoff points away and take them for yourself, knowing that it could be a huge advantage come playoff time?
I mean, I don't know. Ethan's so good that I think it'd take him messing up a couple weeks in a row for me to even make a charge, even if I run consistently. Because even if I'm running top 5, more than likely he's going to be in the top 5. So mainly, after the way my season kind of started in points, I'm mainly just looking for wins. It's kind of opposite from what I was last season. Last season, I was kind of points battling the whole regular season after I got the win at Darlington. Now I'm just kind of just going for wins, and that can be a way I can build, playoff points as winning. We got good tracks coming up. This was one of them. We go to Pocono next week. That's where we won last season. Dover's always good. There's a couple other good tracks coming up, but just a little frustrated at the moment that I threw away a chance at playoff points today too. So I don't know. Just wish I would have played that restart better.
And lastly, before I give you the opportunity to thank everybody, KBueno Racing now has 7 consecutive wins on the season, and out of those 7, 6 of them have been in 1-2 finishes. So, Jaden, what has it been this season for everybody at the organization that has just been able to go out and win these races, and not just win, but it's been everybody up in the front competing?
I mean, I think it just helps that all of us have pure pace this season. Like, it's not. Anyone on our team can go out and win a race. I mean, it shows, and I think that helps a lot when we all have pure pace. We all kind of know what we're talking about, all know what we're doing, and we work good. We work well together. I mean, we worked through the restarts tonight. I feel like the best we could have, and yeah, we're all good, we're all competitive, and we work well together. So I think it's showing on the racetrack. We all have pure pace, like I said, and yeah, we've all kind of adapted to the update probably better than some, but there's going to be those Lawson Peels, Kyle Bensons, and Steven Maggios who are going to win races because they're so good. So hopefully we can keep it up. Hopefully we win the rest of the races. But yeah, BBR's on a crazy stretch. I wish I could do just a little more winning than I have, but yeah, we're on a crazy stretch right now.
Yeah, Ethan is already making it clear that he's going to make sure that you are aware of everything that's been going on with these wins on his part. Anybody want to give a shout out to the Hell's Fix that's happened for you in the 2018?
Yeah, thanks to everyone back KBueno Racing. Yeah, we were I think really good tonight. Thanks to Nicholas Bauman, he kind of helped me set this paint scheme up. So thanks to him for this cool die do scheme. Of course, it finished second like it did Nega, but thanks to my brother and his friends for watching. Thanks to Bree and everybody. Yeah.
Appreciate the time you take with us, Jaden. Congratulations on another podium finish this season. We hope to see you out at the Pocono Raceway next week, a track you've won at before.
All right, thank you.
That's Jaden Porter's second place effort here from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, and still a great run regardless. Even though it wasn't the check-off victory that Porter had been looking for, he has won at several concrete tracks, Dover and Nashville Super Speedway being them. Tried to get it here from Bristol and could not do it, ends up in the second spot. Let's talk to the third place finisher of tonight's race. It's Juan Escamilla, and Juan, this is your best career four-wide finish on an oval. It matches your best all-time with a third at Watkins Glen last season, but how great does it feel to have the track position at the end, make good use of it, had a good car in those final few laps?
You know what, Kenneth? I was just vibing there. I was not at all my five senses there at the end, and I just went for it, just relaxed a little bit, took the pressure off of me, and even though my teammates were telling me to go for it, I just wanted to do what I did all race to get there and just be calm and not try to force anything. And it worked pretty much for the whole race. I had that incident with Trevor there. He got loose in front of me and I got nose damage, but he came out a little bit worse. I was at that point of the race. I just decided to just play it cool, get the positions when I can on the restarts, and just try to save tire on the bottom.
And Bristol, this track, obviously conducive to yellow flags. We saw many of them tonight, some of them in which you were either nearly or somewhat a part of. And you mentioned being calm, trying to run your own race and keep it clean. How do you balance the level of aggression you could put up at several times versus that level of calmness that you can carry through the course of a race, not worrying about other drivers? How do you balance that here at this track?
It's something that I personally know for a fact. It's a weird balance of where you're not too calm and you're not focusing on your marks and your entry line, your braking line, stuff like that, but also not me trying to push the car way too hard and burning up my stuff. It's a easy balance where I just feel the steering wheel and I just decide my input based on that. It's really wasn't that hard at the end. I did cook my tires there on the restart, but that was me just trying to get by as soon as I can, and I just didn't have enough for the top two.
Regardless, though, great finish tonight and your best of Season 8 as far as I'm concerned, with several good runs over the course of the year, but in your sophomore campaign, starting to really run it up, and Bristol is one of those races. Right before we head out to Pocono and send you off with the rest of the field, and before we let you go, anybody that you want to thank, anybody that you want to shout out for tonight's third-place finish?
Yeah, I just want to shout out my team owner, Timmy, team owner, my teammates, Trevor, Nick, Blaine, and Randy Showers. They've been pretty supported over the radio and giving me words of encouragement. They're near the end, and just friends and family that are tuning into the stream.
Well, that's great stuff. Glad that they're out there supporting you, and I'm sure they're very happy to see this finish alongside yourself, Juan. Congratulations on the third-place finish. Just vibing. I'm going to use that term a little bit more moving forward. Thank you for the time. Congrats. We'll see you at Pocono next week.
I think it.
Juan Escamilla for Dark Horse Racing. lighting up the beacon for this sophomore team in its full-time effort, alongside drivers like Nicholas Baumann, Trevor Haley, and the rest. A great finish for Juan Escamilla to end up in the back end of the top 3 tonight after a chaotic, wild race from this Bristol Motor Speedway, but something that we probably did expect. So now we move forward after a phenomenal approach into Bristol. Moreno takes his victory, back-to-back dubs, and we head into the tricky triangle. Francisco, I don't want to spoil the news. Actually, I won't spoil the news. Why don't you break the news about what your actions are going to be next week?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be spoiling, Kenneth. I did mention it a couple times on my other starts that I was going to be out there at Pocono Raceway. So yeah, I'll be on the track at Pocono, trying my best to avenge the finish from last season.
Well, it'll be fun to see you out there, of course, running in those final few laps of the chance to win. Jaden Porter, like Francisco mentioned, had won the race last time we were out at the tricky triangle, and this will become a very pivotal point in this regular season. Keelan, we always like to split things in two between this first half before the All-Star break and then that second half coming forward to playoff time. How big is this last few races of the stretch going to be for the drivers to try and lock in and get a playoff spot?
You look at it, we don't have a points race between December 3rd and January 7th, so having that momentum off of Chicagoland and being in a good mood, good state of mind going into that winter break into Texas in January, it's going to be so important. You want to have that momentum in your favor, because if you're coming off some bad races at Talladega and Chicagoland, you're not going to be in a great mood going into Texas. You won't be as fired up to get back out there and put together some good races, because that is a heck of a stretch without an off week for a while after Texas until we get to media day. So these guys are going to really have to put it together, get these last couple races before our winter break in, and try to put together the best races they can.
It will be fun when we take on the tricky triangle next week, but you're right, once we get into Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, things will start to stretch out, and it'll be very sparse to see any four-wide action. The drivers will have to keep that in mind, and apart from some of their holiday plans at the end of 2025, they're going to try and continue to run for a championship, but it's been hard to stop Ethan Fonseca Moreno, who for the 4th time this season takes victory, reaches Paul's setup shop victory lane, and stands on top of the four-wide world as the field leaves Bristol on a trip to the Northeast and to Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for watching our coverage of the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series from Bristol Motor Speedway. For Tyler Murray and the entire admin council at 4Wide Racing, for Nate Polite, Eli Comerford, Charlie Byer, Keelan Belcher, Francisco Bacalao, and the KBueno Racing Network, and for all of their hard work on the show tonight, I am Kenneth Bueno saying so long from Bristol, Tennessee, as Ethan Fonseca Moreno gets back-to-back victories and his 7th straight for Bacalao Bueno Racing.